like
angel doesn't
not what it
exist.
used to be anymore.
It's
It makes me sad.
In the
It's
in
been
context
guided.
that it doesn't, like in the same context.
I'm checking right now.
Because Disney came out and destroyed them and buried them under lawyers.
Oh, it was Disney that did it?
Yeah.
Disney was like,
Tune
in or content, man.
It's asking me if I want to go live right now. So I probably shouldn't look at it on my phone.
So, because that will go well with your next upgrade, your next level.
Oh, just now, free action.
Yeah.
Oh, it still says one shot part 4.
Where speed increases by 10 feet, and then when you use the dash action, difficult terrain.
Which that is not what we're doing.
And then if I make a melee
Did you change it?
I tried to.
Maybe it takes time.
Maybe.
For the rest of the turn, whether I hit it or not.
Is it going?
Come and go.
Well, like, the thing is, like, I got run in.
Hold on. Let me try logging into the Wi-Fi. That might speed up updating.
So I could run up, punch someone back up a few feet, and they come back to engage me, and I just punch them again.
So you double punch within like a turn.
Double punch.
Yeah, I'll probably do mobile then.
Dang. Still says it.
Everybody gets disadvantage on shooting attacks against me now.
Yeah.
Nice.
So it tells me that I'm live. Here, do you want me to try and change the title real quick? Let's see if
You
it.
can, yeah.
Yeah, it lets me. Shot rules. All right.
You want me to start?
Yeah, let's go ahead and get it started. I probably shouldn't be wearing these headphones. Scotty, where would you like them? They're very nice.
Thanks. Okay, good.
Oh man.
Everyone ready? Because here we go!
Okay. Did you already go live?
Yep.
Cool. Hey, welcome everyone to Free Action Episode 1.
Yay!
Yeah! This has been long awaited, at least for everyone sitting at this table. This game. This is a brand new campaign. We've explored it a little bit through a series of one-shots and short stories and 4-shots and things like that, because this guy has a really hard time managing expectations for his players. Or rather just underestimating how long you guys can drag a great RP experience out. Because that's really what it all came down to. But a little bit of information for you guys. We're going to kind of go around the table. I want to introduce everyone's characters. I want a little bit of a refresher since it's been about 2 months since we played these characters together at the same table. And then we're going to go over a little bit of background regarding the campaign world that we're in. It'll be familiar to everyone at this table because we have played a previous campaign in this world, but we're on a different continent, different nation right now. Very, very different societal structure that we'll be involved in, and it would just do a really good job to give a little refresher on everything.
Okay.
So let's go around the table, introduce everyone. Why don't we go ahead and start over here?
Okay. So, my character's name is Sig. I don't know where to look. Oh man.
Look wherever you want.
My character's name is Sig. She is a fiery redheaded half-elf and a bard. She's from the northernmost woodlands in Lyn Taranel, where this story takes place. And she's beautiful and quirky and sort of like, and just very optimistic in general.
Excellent. Cool. And why don't you go and share your name?
Sig.
Your name.
Oh.
She's the
I am
Sig.
Sig. No, I'm Andy. Ew.
Thanks, Andy. Let's go ahead and move over here. And I'm just going to say this is Scott.
Thanks, I'm Scott. I'm playing Tobias Revan. He's an high elf,
Okay.
about 6 foot tall, black hair, down like almost to his shoulders, not quite. Has red robes with gold trim on them, and he came from the cosmopolitan area, where kind of lots of high society, serving as like an artisan for them, and ended up in bad favor with them for various reasons, and ended up coming here with this group.
Got it. Kind of got roped into it.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay, let's go ahead and move on.
I'm Jesse. My character's name is Gedrid Cordright. He is a cheerful but morbid little halfling who abandoned his family after they began to practice black magic in the wilderness of Linterno. He spent years wandering as basically a happy little hobo, learned some nature magic, and is now infected with a magical fungus that he uses to kill his enemies and help his friends.
Excellent. I'm glad you got that wording right this time. And let's go over to the other side of the table.
All right. I am Derek. I play Vazimir, a blood hunter. He is sexy in a rugged sort of way. He loves hunting monsters. It's what he's done his whole life, pretty much. He comes from the castle of Ost Celeb in the mountains. He basically was made a blood hunter there and has been one ever since. And yeah, his whole life involves hunting.
Cool.
Everything.
Very dedicated.
Yes.
I am Louis Santora. I come from the city of Aphalion, which is analogous to 1890s Chicago. I did odd jobs around the city. I helped out folks. I got into a few scraps, and because of that, I've learned to punch real good. I joined Chimera because I thought it was the right thing to do, and I am rugged. And that's it. Not sexy, just rugged.
Excellent. And just because I can't remember if I heard it, your name there on the end is Derek.
Yes.
Yeah. And then Shaden.
Hello.
Perfect. And then over here.
Hi, I'm Carson. I'll be playing the Fire Genasi Eldritch Knight, whatever hybrid I've made of him. Yes, there's multi-classing shenanigans, and I love it. His name is Claudius Kilnhart, and he is really passionate about helping people and making a good name for the Kilnhart name. Trying to work against the fact that, being on fire all the time kind of makes him look like the devil. Which he does look strikingly similar. Jet black hair with coal gray skin. He will glow in veins and times with intense emotion. Like if you're ever blowing the coals inside of a fireplace that's starting to wind down. He also, smokes. And I don't mean with cigarettes. I mean like he's literally smoking just a little bit. A lot of the time. And
Is
so...
he ruggedly handsome as well? Handsome in a rugged sort of way?
I'd say he's handsome more in a Henry Cavill sort of way.
Okay.
Oh, boy.
Nice.
I have no
That's
idea.
ambitious.
I love it.
I'm just
Hey,
gonna say I pulled
Better
the
to shoot
picture.
for the stars and miss, right?
I probably missed. Really, the thumbnail we chose for him was a picture of a young Sauron, so that gives you an idea of what he might look like.
Excellent.
Saw those old thumbnails.
Well, thank you. I'm really excited to see what kind of shenanigans we get up to this campaign. My name's Joshua McLaughlin. I'm going to be the Dungeon Master for this year campaign. We anticipate it running for the foreseeable future. The campaign we ran before this was just about 2 years long, and we decided that we have so much fun doing this that we just kind of want to record it for our own posterity's purposes or just viewing pleasure in the future, but also maybe to share kind of some of the fun and experiences that we have at the table, not necessarily because they are unique to the game, which is 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, but we find that we just have so many amazing encounters and experiences and stories being told by each of our characters that it's something that we want to share with anyone who might be looking to get into Dungeons and Dragons. That being said, I want to explain that we are going to be playing with a few home rules. They aren't necessarily an overhaul of the 5th edition core rules, but they are supplemental, and we found that they should be very good at sort of lifting our characters up and helping them feel like the heroes that they are. So I'll go over them just a little bit briefly, and then they'll come up often as we play the game. The first is going to be a home rule regarding flanking. When attacking an enemy who is already engaged by another friendly creature. So if you are moving into a space to attack an enemy that has one of your other teammates or a friendly creature also engaged with them in an adjacent space, then you gain a +1 to your attack roll. You can receive up to a +2 bonus to your attack roll in this way. This is just to encourage strategical maneuvering on the battlefield, not necessarily leaving your friends high and dry, and really forcing you to make tough decisions that could either pay off in large dividends if they're taken advantage of. The second is a disarming home rule. A character that has been disarmed has disadvantage on all attack rolls with that weapon after picking it up until the start of their next turn. This is just to give a little bit more incentive to maybe grappling to disarm a creature and subdue them by non-lethal means, which, as we know, it is incredibly fun most of the time to kill things, but I also sometimes put important things in front of you and I need them to not die right away. So, third is a home rule regarding better potions. When consuming a health potion, you may add your wisdom medicine bonus to the result. So for those of you that are skilled in medicine, if you have your proficiency in medicine, you are allowed to add that medicine skill bonus to the result of any potion which you consume. And then finally, fixed critical hits. When scoring a critical hit, you calculate your maximum weapon dice plus your attack modifier, and then you roll your weapon dice and add the result to the initial calculation. So in the event that you roll a natural 20, or for some classes 19 or a 20 on an attack roll, you get a flat maximum die result as your critical bonus. From that point, you roll your normal weapon dice, add your appropriate modifier, and that's the result of your critical hit. You guys are badass heroes. You are literally in this campaign to save the nation of Lyn Teranil from the horrors which have beset it. And I need you guys to feel that way, especially when you have those amazing climactic moments of scoring a critical hit. And I feel that this is going to be a great way to do that. We will be having some minion work involved as well, but I feel like most people are pretty familiar with how that goes, so I won't go into too much explanation on it. Do you guys have any questions?
Yes.
Yeah, Andrea.
Should we describe the enhancements?
Yes, I'm going to go into that one next.
It's probably in your intro.
Yeah.
Regarding the potion one, if someone with a high wisdom score administers a potion to someone else, do they get that person's wisdom score, or is it just whoever's drinking it?
No, the idea is that by becoming trained in medicine, you have spent time consuming medicines or consuming herbs and things like that. and so potions will work more efficiently in your body. Yeah, so it's you consuming it yourself. So unfortunately, Gedrid can't give you a health potion and give you an obscene bonus.
Better.
I don't know if your bonus is necessarily obscene. I just know that you're proficient in medicine, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, you are. Perfect.
Nice.
Okay, now.
Falls off the skin into it. So now
To tell,
I don't think I can.
I don't think you are.
are you not proficient in medicine?
Me?
You are, right?
I am. I have plus 10 bonus.
Yeah, right? Plus 10.
I'm
So
sorry.
he's never going to heal himself. He's just going to chug potions
Excellent.
because it's a flat what?
I do have a question
Yeah.
about
Through
adding
13.
bonuses for that.
Yeah.
If your wisdom score is a negative, does that subtract one, or it's
No.
flat zero? at
It
that
will
point?
not take anything away.
Okay, good. I just want to make
Oh,
sure.
no.
I'm not, but
But
for those who might be.
That is a great question.
Being
For anyone who is
successful,
curious
we
about
still
it,
challenged.
You cannot go negative because of this. That would be terrible.
Okay.
I think you're
You lose.
hilarious.
I rolled a 1 on a d4 plus whatever, 2d4 plus 2. Anyway, so let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the campaign setting. We have been running our campaigns for the last 2 years on the kind of homebrewed rule of a world of Acromia. It is on the prime material plane. It has an assortment of peoples from all across the Dungeons and Dragons multiverse, all the different realms, both inner and outer planes. Almost all beings have at one point touched or affected Acromia. Now, this isn't normally the case, or it wasn't the case 5 game years ago. However, the world of Acromia was influenced by a cosmic, really a super cosmic event known as the Vestival Alignment. This was an alignment of the planes, both inner and outer, which I'm just realizing now is very similar to a certain book series, which I hadn't read before this, but whatever. Anyway, so all the outer planes, inner planes aligned with the material plane, temporarily occupying the same space. This led to a number of rifts between the different planes forming, allowing passage both to the prime material plane and then to the connected planes. Sometimes voluntary travel would happen between the two from learned people who had been expecting the occurrence. And in other instances, involuntary transference happened where large swaths of land, including cities and other kind of settled places, were instantaneously swapped with sections of land from another plane. This has led to a number of alien-type creatures and peoples now being present on the prime material plane, the world of Acromia. We've met a few of them in the past, and we, as players, know a little bit more about the Vestival Alignment and why it happened or why it became as bad as it was. But for the sake of this new campaign with a new set of characters, we are going to allow kind of the natural discovery of how the Vestival Alignment truly became manipulated to affect the world in the way that it did. Now, all of that originated on another continent, far, far away, known as Balfour. We, however, are on a continent far to the north, known as Pentaryn. It's the largest continent on the world of Acromia, and it is filled with a number of different nations. And on the continent of Pentaryn is a large central nation known as Lyn Terenil. This is the nation that we are going to be playing our game in. Lyn Terenil was very uniquely affected by the Vestival Alignment. A number of cosmic celestial bodies collided in the space over the continent of Pentaryn. Their collision led to a number of celestial materials being thrust down towards the surface of the world, and where they impacted, they released a mutagen-like energy, which cascaded out over kind of the natural plains and valleys and mountains, but also through the cityscapes of the nation of Lyn Terenil. And where they struck, people were either killed instantaneously, or a very small percentage of those affected by those impacts were transformed, becoming what researchers, arcanists, and scientists alike are simply referring to as the infused. This is mostly because over the last 5 years, they've discovered that these creatures, which would be normal mundane creatures of the biome of Lyn Terenil, if they were to be dissected, they were found to have colored crystal lining their capillaries and their veins throughout their body. This proved to be the source of the infusions. So, the 6 of you, each of you being affected by the Vestful alignment, each of you becoming infused yourselves, were contacted very shortly after your infusions by a man named Ulysses Crow, and you were recruited into an organization known as Chimera, which has been, over the last 5 years, declaring itself as an anti-terror organization. Ulysses Crow and the chair people of the organization have been sending you as the assets of Chimera out into the world in order to repel the more wild and untamed infused that have been setting themselves upon the civilized places of the nation. After doing this for about 5 years, experiencing a number of adventures and growth together, you now find yourselves at the start of today's session and at the start of this campaign. So, as mentioned before, we did play a number of one-shots and short kind of series of games together to explore these characters. There is still a little bit of tweaking that needs to be done as far as balance-wise, but we'll get to that off screen. For now, we're going to go ahead and start today's session. As the 6 of you find yourselves in a very familiar place, in the conference room at the top of the Chimera Den, currently seated or standing around a large circular stone table, circled by 14 large stone chairs, which in your time that you've been here, you have learned that this room and this table and these chairs were actually in this location before Chimera began building its headquarters here. It was discovered as part of the excavation of the mountain, and the room was built around it. All of you find yourselves in this room. Together with you are 3 very familiar individuals, first being Ulysses Crow, the very charismatic and mysterious chairman of Chimera. He is very intimately familiar with each of you as he recruited each of you to the organization. He remains somewhat of an enigma to most of you, knowing only tidbits about him. Just as a brief kind of physical descriptor of him, he is half-elven, he is tall, he is lithe, he has mostly black hair, very neatly trimmed close to kind of the top of his head. He does have 2 wings of silver hair which extend above either temple, and he has heterochromatic eyes, one of them being a burnished gold and the other being a deep blue. This can be offsetting to some, though to others it is found to be very comfortable. And he seems to have a way of calming people's emotions by peering into them. He is a bit older for a half-elf. He does walk with a limp, and he always carries a cane with him. The other 2 individuals are Aracene, the wood elf, and Fegan Shods. Human researcher. Aracene was she was hopeful collegiate for a number of years before, unfortunately, her experimentation with the principles of instantaneous travel over great distances was deemed unsafe by the University of Higher Enlightenment in Ventana. She was then picked up by Ulysses Crow, who lauded her for her ambitious research and recruited her into Chimera. She is now the lead researcher in the Nexus branch of Chimera. She leads basically their R&D department. Fegan Shods is a hunched over human. He has short, wiry gray hair, which seems to fly in every direction. He has massive ears, a bulbous nose, hawk-like eyes, and he is always seen to be hunched over a folio of paper, which he clutches to his chest. No one exactly is sure what is contained within the folio, as no one has ever seen
Still hasn't
all of this stuff. And now, no one is exactly sure what the folio contains, but whenever he gives reports, he has never ever once pulled a sheet of paper out from the folio. So he's either memorized what's within, or it has nothing to do with what's going on. Okay.
One day we'll find
You
out.
will also notice that the room, with its 6 walls, most of them covered in maps, as you're familiar with. 2 of them, however, are covered with a series of portraits. One of them being kind of heads of state, people of influence and political prowess that are important to the infrastructure of Lyn Terenil are on one wall. And on the second wall is essentially a wall of villains. Fortunately, over your 5 years, a number of these portraits have been changed. Many of them due to your efforts. However, as portraits are changed, a few of them are moved closer to the top as the threat that they pose to the nation of Lyn Terenil grows. A few of them you are intimately familiar with. Others are foreign to you, though you guess that they are most likely new to the crime scene or new to the proclivity towards causing chaos across the nation of Lyn Terenil or in whatever domain that they've set up.
Well, I'm grateful to have all of you here. I apologize for the lack of details regarding this particular meeting, but our client has requested that, only those who need to know. So I thank all of you for being here. If you would all take a seat, Arsene and Fegan will go over the details for this particular mission, and we will be able to move forward from there. Thank you. Do you sit, stand? What do you want to do?
I know we're kind of getting
I-
back into
I
it
never
with these characters.
sit into a chair the correct way.
Okay.
So I'm probably gonna sit on like the edge of the table and cross my legs and kind of like
Are the chairs like
I
little
sat, just
stools?
not on the chair.
No, they're massive chairs.
Like armrest chairs?
Yeah, they are full backed. They would probably. How tall are you, Louis?
Like 6.
Over 6 feet.
Yeah.
Okay, so the back of the chair is barely under the top of your head.
Wow.
It is a tall chair.
It's not for dwarfs.
Gedrid like has a little pack with him. He puts it on top of the chair, sits on top of the
Nice.
pack, and he's still a little bit
Bad
underneath the
notes.
table.
Totally.
But he's there. He's ready to go.
Tobias is just sitting normally. He's like,
Perfect.
you guys have to sit.
I'm sitting normal.
I'm
Vosimir
too
stands as usual.
Yeah.
Well, I knew that.
Stoic in the corner.
Yeah.
Just listening. All right.
Claudius will sit.
All right.
Speaking in the third person. I will sit.
I will inform you that our client is very important. You've met him once, though I understand that the meeting was political in nature, and you may not have had an opportunity to converse with him. Scalebearer Kinellis has requested a very special mission be assigned only to the 6 of you. It is rather secretive, and you will receive more information once you leave, or rather you depart for your mission. And he sort of slides a closed parcel over to Claudius. He slides kind of a bundle of papers, which are
Papers instantly burn when you touch them.
wrapped in a leather folio, which is currently sealed in like 3 different places.
They know the fireproof things around here.
It appears to be waterproof. It appears to be sealed, and you are given instructions not to open it until you leave.
Do you know what's in that there folder?
I, fortunately, am one of those who needs to know.
So, what should we bring? Cold weather gear,
Well,
warm weather gear.
Arsene and Fegan will update you with the information. At this point, Arsene kind of gives a respectful nod, and as per the usual, she has a stack of maybe 300 to 400 sheets of paper, just lining the space in front of her on the table, and until this point, she was just furiously flipping between different sheets, making notes, and then realizing that the attention has been passed over to her, she nods towards Ulysses and kind of looks over at each of you. Well, it's time for another mission.
Is the teleporter fixed?
Yes. Oh, as per that, and she reaches down and she kind of rummages through some of her belongings, and she comes up with a double handful of what look to be small metallic tokens. She sort of tosses them along the length of the table to each of you. These are anchors. Please. Oh. She reaches down, grabs another one.
I didn't eat it.
Please, it cannot come in contact with any bodily fluids,
Oh,
or any fluid for that matter. Please don't get these wet.
I'll hold on to this one as a souvenir.
No, she took it back to fix it.
Uh-oh.
These are very expensive.
Water to pull the liquid off.
Keep these in a dry place. However, keep them very close to yourselves. We are calling these simply anchors. When you utilize our jump technology in the future, they will greatly reduce the chance of mishaps.
Liquefaction.
Well, we've gone far beyond that stage. Yes, not much less painful, but this will greatly reduce the chance of anything happening.
How many days has it been since your
Slow it
last
down.
accident? 1. Got it.
About 13 hours. Don't worry, he is still functioning. The problem was finding out where he went. We've currently sent a team to recover him. Anyway,
Are all his parts in the right place, or is everything in
well,
the right
he
spot?
was able to respond to a message which we sent.
There's just nothing
And
but
so-
screams.
Part of him works, at least the part that's able to communicate with us.
Or at least think.
Sure, yes.
Or he's been replaced.
Regardless, we've sent a team to recover what might be there to recover so that we can study it. As you know, everyone who participates in Jump is a volunteer.
Sure.
I mean, we already signed our
Paid
lives away,
for
right?
and insured by Chimera.
Didn't one of us learn teleportation circuit? Wouldn't it be handy to know someone who just knows teleportation circuit?
The benefit of Jump is that you do not need a sigil on the other end.
Yeah, but you die.
It's a very small chance.
That happens to everyone, Lily.
Honestly, where's your sense of adventure?
And plus, if you're embedded in the ground, I can always unbury you.
Thank you.
If you die, you'll never be hungry again.
That is true.
Always
But
looking up right.
How do we know that?
Where's the dark side?
Yeah, I kind of like it.
Anyway, where is you going?
Well, I've been told that you are going to be traveling to White River, which is far to the west, almost all the way to Vedel, actually. So, for those of you who haven't visited that area, I'm sure it's to be very nice this time of year.
For your reference, it is early spring. You each would know that the town of White River is a very sizable trade stop along Vestolfria, which is the river that runs north-south on the western side of the nation. It is kind of a natural boundary between Lyn Terenil and the Kingdom of Vedel, which is a primarily human kingdom run by kind of baronies and lords, very typical of kind of English literature, almost Arthurian in kind of the way that it's run.
Yes, you will be traveling, or rather, traveling by jump just to the outside of White River, and you will then be making contact with, hopefully, your employer
And he's
or
in,
representative.
he's in White River?
At this point, Fegan sort of pipes up.
Yes, he is in White River, and I know he is a he, because it will be the scare bearer himself.
Is it always a guy who's the scale bearer?
No, it's whoever is elected to follow the previous scale bearer.
It just so happens that the current one is male.
Correct.
Oh,
Gerwaith Kinellis, head of the Kinellis house, is the scale bearer of Lyn Terenil.
women can hold public office.
Yes.
I remember that from my history
Anyway,
class.
I have been instructed that you will be meeting your contact in the River's Blessing. It is a very sizable and wealthy inn in White River.
What does he look like? You Dragon Ball?
What does who look like?
Scale bearer.
He is an elf,
I just figured it.
high elf.
He doesn't have scales
Highest
on
of
him.
elves,
It's like a,
actually.
Oh.
is he like a high judge, right?
He is one of the 5 oligarchs of Lyn Terenil.
Why is he in White River then meeting with us?
Well, unfortunately, I don't know anything more about this mission.
Insight check.
You can make an insight check. Absolutely.
This guy's so sketchy.
Oh, wow. 19.
Um,
I stare at him with my rugged
Fegan
yet
looks
sexy
so
gaze.
ticked off right now.
Just for asking a
No,
question.
no. He looks ticked off about not knowing more.
Oh,
Nice.
nice.
In your experience, Fegan Shods,
It's incredible.
he
knows all.
is the network master. He is the spy master of Chimera. His job is to know things well before they become pertinent, and he seems to be very perturbed over not being granted more details.
And so is the scale bearer going to be in disguise? Or like out in the open that he's just sitting in some podunk inn?
Mr. Crow kind of chimes in at this point.
I would assume that due to the secretive nature of this operation, that he will just be in disguise. However, he has given us word that you are being expected at the River's Blessing, and so your arrival there will trigger appropriate responses from him and his retinue.
Another party.
Secretive responses, or
Code words.
Introduce yourself, and I've been told that the appropriate, trustworthy people will guide you to your next step.
excellent.
Well,
I like
the man that's important, is there a particular form of address we need to take?
With
Like,
the scale bearer. Well, he is a royal.
Yeah, so each of you would very, very much know. Lyn Terenil is run by 5 oligarchs. They each are the head of various elven households, which were basically the foundation of Lyn Terenil some 850 years ago. Yes,
So his picture would be up on the wall.
his picture is definitely up on the wall. Yeah.
We can look. We
I
can look
just-
at it. Okay.
So I don't personally know what the proper form of address would be.
Exactly. So he is royalty, my lord, my lady, my liege. Any honorific that you can think to apply, he will most likely accept. It is very important to observe proper etiquette when interacting with royals.
They're all elven households?
The 5 oligarchical families are elven, yes.
They're just the original settlers.
That don't mean we're not as progressive as I thought.
Did you ask for what type of dress or a
Not-
dress?
A dress.
I'm
like,
sorry,
Okay.
like,
I should clarify.
Like
We
your
need to wear
highness or like.
Correct. Correct. Shaden, not all royals are elven, but the 5 oligarch families are elven. Which can change, it just hasn't.
Sure. That's what they all say.
It's
Oh,
an
you can
election.
totally become an oligarch. There's no law against it.
Oh boy.
New mission,
I
guys.
can already feel this is already going way beyond my control. Oh no.
Rise up.
Viva la revolution!
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Put the means of production in the hands of
Hands of the people. New form.
Let them eat cake.
Anyway,
communist dream.
Do you have any additional questions? I can answer what I am able to, though Claudius has been given a very good bit of information that he will be able to reveal to you once you have traveled to White River. However, if there's anything other than that I can answer, please ask it now.
Are we?
How long is this gonna take?
He's got an appointment in an hour.
No, I need to know
Not
when
bad.
it's gone bad. If we've been gone for a month, is that
3
bad?
days.
3 days. Okay. So if we're gone for more than 3 days.
If you're gone for more than 3 days, I will contact you.
Okay, good. Good.
We'll check in.
Look, Toby,
Yeah.
I'm sorry that we lost you for that 2 weeks.
It was the worst 2 weeks of my life.
You lived with 1 or 2 missing toes.
Fortunately, the events of 2.5 years ago were singular in nature.
Doesn't mean that can't happen again.
Statistically
RSC
unlikely.
nods at this. As the researcher, she's like,
Are we gonna be expecting like a combat? Should we prepare for that, or is this gonna be more of a sneaky deaky?
If I can make this as vaguely clear as possible, the 6 of you are being sent.
Oh,
Oh, dear.
we won't have the Grimbeards with
In
us.
fact, you have been specifically requested by the Scale Bearer. As you are aware, he is one of our most public and supported proponents in the political arena. He is a very generous donor. He is your biggest fan.
What was his name again?
Hey,
Do not screw this up.
He's got
when have we ever screwed anything up?
Well,
I think the proper
You had
thing
to
is
say
maybe, perhaps I should do a little more talking than maybe you.
Hey, listen, I
Figure
got
that.
a 16 charisma.
What does that mean?
I don't know. It's just on my sheet.
it's just on this piece of
It's
paper
none of
here.
your business why I'm so ruggedly sexy.
Step out of the fourth wall.
Excellent.
I'll backhand it with my 20, okay?
It's fine. I'll be your backup. I can do like muscle poses in the background while you're talking.
I think we should leave.
Let's go and talk to
As
the
long
other
as you don't
people
leave.
about
Gather-
what supplies we need.
I don't want
Excellent.
to leave.
That's the group slang.
I'm not about to leave. That was one time! Alright.
If you all finish here,
We put a lot. You bet you have a lot of hope in us.
you may
Thank
want
you,
to pay a
Peter.
visit to Frothy in the army. He has a number of gifts for each of you, and perhaps it may do you good to, I don't know, equip yourselves for this journey.
Alright.
Especially because you won't know what's going to happen until you leave.
I would like to especially get some spell components for that as well. So we'll meet up with it.
Let's do this first.
Alright.
Let's go meet in a room, whoever's room's closest, find out what's in the envelope, then go get our gear.
thought we could only
Well,
open
we
it
haven't left
there.
We can only open it when we're there, I thought.
You've been given instructions. You can only open it after you've jumped because they do not want anyone.
Big time.
Well, they don't want anyone that shouldn't know about it to find out.
Like you were just openly being like.
Imagine if we were to open. Bosmir, imagine if we were to open this and someone's, got detect thoughts open. They get the entire contents of it. It's
Bosmer's just walking out.
He's
on his way now to the armory.
Okay, bye. I'll go visit Frothy.
Now that he knows he's wrong.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask him how he got his name.
Okay.
Good question.
I'm curious.
Frothy
too.
is a newer character to each of you. He's been employed by Chimera for about 3 years. He is a dwarf.
Yes.
Frothy the dwarf.
Frothy.
He's
dwarf.
the long lost cousin of Sneezy and Bashful. Frothy. He went rabid.
He runs- he
Kick
runs-
him out of the
Oh,
house.
I was gonna say he runs an ale house, but great. Now that's yours came out first, so apparently that's what it is now.
Eighth dwarf. Frothy.
Frothy. Okay.
From now on, anytime we meet an NPC, we're just gonna create him together, and whatever we say sticks. The first thing out.
Yes.
With one veto each. Anyway, so you make your way.
Froth.
F-R-O with the little top hat, T-H-I. Because it's a long O. Frothy.
It's still
Like a little,
Yes.
like a flat cap.
No.
I
it's
knock
like a
on
point.
Frothy's
Like this.
door.
Got it.
It's like an alligator mouth. Well, there is no door to the armory, fortunately. In fact, as you make your way down 2 levels and over to where the armory is located, the armory has expanded over the last 5 years. It has since grown to accommodate a full forge. It has grown into kind of like essentially a weapons testing facility as well. There's a number of experimental technology being utilized, most of it being powered by the samples which you've been recovering from the infused. Some of it is very unique, some of it is very weird, and there's a direwolf somewhere being trained, and unfortunately he's a little hungry and sad right now.
So sad.
There's a dog in the background. My
Gotta
heart.
love mouth mutes.
My heart. Anyway, making your way down to the armory, you begin to hear the clang 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 tink clang tang of metal being worked in the forge. Making your way through the large archway, you're immediately enveloped by kind of the general warmth of the armory. This front area is essentially a gift shop for each of you. You all have a kind of exclusive rights to anything that is in this room. You are able to commission special items. If there's anything unique that you're hoping to either have crafted or enchanted, you basically get a reduced rate from the armory here at Chimera.
So we do still have to pay for it. Okay.
You do still have to pay for it because of the components that are involved, yes.
Okay.
Is Frothy there?
Frothy is there, yes.
I stopped by the kitchens real quick and I got a little glass of water.
That's like 3 floors down.
Well, I just have a glass of water. And I'm just going to be like, hey, Frothy, how's it going? You thirsty?
Alright. As if I hadn't heard that kind of a joke before.
Got him.
Get over it and tell me what you need.
I don't need anything. I just came to say hi.
We were actually told you have stuff for us.
Hey, something about secret missions. Well, oh crap. I shouldn't have said that. I should not have said that. Anyway.
No, we're in the need to know.
No, well, you see him, and there's this like little diminutive human guy over in the corner, like going over a ledger. And as soon as he says, "You see him," he like tenses up, and he doesn't turn around at all. Like he's so focused on not turning around right now. And then all of a sudden, he reaches up, and he just like jams a ball of wax into one ear and then the other, and then he goes back to what he was doing.
Every mission's a secret.
Well, I do have a number of things for you. Hopefully, you find them useful and you don't break them this time. However, some of them are meant to be broken, so we'll see what you manage to do with them. Come this way, and he kind of leads you deeper into the armory, and he leads you to a room which is basically just a series of pedestals in the center of the room, which are each topped with a glass case. Within each of these are very, very powerful and unique artifacts, which are always under lock and key and under very heavy enchantment. You are occasionally granted access to them. They almost all are legendary in nature. They are only ever on loan to you. Most of them, a couple of them have been recovered by you, though most of them have been donations from people supporting Chimera. Very, very wealthy patrons of the organization. They are essentially part of the capital value of the organization, which is why they are assets, which is why they are only ever on loan to you. Because in the case of an emergency, Chimera would be able to sell them for untold sums.
Or wield them against a foe.
Or wield them against a foe, if that's what it took to save the organization. Anyway, you are instead led to a series of countertops, which have all been laid out with items. The first thing that you notice, very, very, always good to see, is a crate full of potions. There are potions of a number of different colors and varieties, and you are basically told you have the pick of the litter. Though, as you're aware, they are not instantaneously restocked. Everything here has to be crafted. Everything here takes time to make. And so you've kind of learned to be judicious about how much and how often you take items from this room. Yeah.
Speaking of which, and for those who keep inventory, we do not have the potions from our previous mission.
It has been 5 years from them. I'm
They
going
probably
to
went
assume
back.
they've been expired
Okay.
or been consumed.
Oh yeah, time.
They're all clumpy.
Time.
Yes.
If I could approach and say, all right, and I just kind of flip through my,
You just
My
give them a
spell
shopping
book.
list.
I go, so I learned a new spell recently, but it requires a crystal ball. Do you have something like
crystal bowl. We could probably put something like that together. Actually, I might have one. Give me a moment to sort these out, and then I'll go get it for you.
that? Thank you.
Now,
I look at the box of potions and I go, well, that's just a crate.
Great.
I got it. I just did not. What's in
It
there?
just
Right.
wasn't funny.
well, so we have 3
Claudius
potions.
just gets a
Needed
big
to be
smile
said.
on his face from the excellent pun.
That's all I
Just a little bit of
We have
smoke
3
trailing
potions
out.
of greater healing. We have 2 potions of superior healing, and there's about 8 potions of healing.
Those are all complimentary, right?
They are yours for the taking. Just be aware that each of these requires time to replenish.
You don't need to be healed.
8 healing. You said how many?
There's 8 healing, and then
Oh.
3 each. I'm sorry, 3 greater, 2 superior.
Take like
Oh.
3, 2, and 1.
If I could
Two
take a
greater-
superior,
Take what you think you'll need.
I don't know.
I'm sorry.
I'll take a superior.
Okay.
Need one.
Okay, so that's the 1 superior. There is 1 more if you want to take it.
I'll take
You don't need to feel bad about it. It just takes time to replenish.
How much is superior again, like in terms of healing?
88.
8d4 plus 8.
Yeah, I'll slurp that. Just
Wait. Yes.
8d4.
Is it 248
It's
or
8d4
246?
plus 8.
Needed
I
right
have it
to
right
say.
here. Superior is 8d4.
Okay, thank you. 8d4 plus 8.
Okay,
Perfect.
I'll hold on to that for a minute.
And then it's 10d4 plus 20 for the supreme.
I'll grab a greater and a less, and one of the regular healing.
3
potions.
graders?
There are 3 graders.
I'll take 1 and 1.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So there was 2, 3, and 1. Oh, I'm sorry, 2, 3, and 8. So 1 superior has been taken.
Yeah, 2. I took
Two
the other
Okay,
one.
2 superiors.
No.
Who is taking a greater?
I want a greater.
1 and 2.
Oh, he got a greater as well. Bosmer, didn't you get a greater?
I got a grader.
Okay, so
there's
all
the
3 graders. How many of the standard healing potions?
I'll
I
take
bro-
2.
I
Okay.
grabbed one.
3,
I'll take one.
4.
mean, you
Okay.
get the biggest benefit out of potions. You
I
should
did
grab
learn
some.
teleportation. Circle.
Oh, good.
Excellent.
Is there a sigil?
So at least we
in
can
the
come back.
bag?
There is, and you're already aware of it.
Perfect.
Yes.
So cool. We don't even have to do much.
All right.
Teleport.
Let's see what else do I
She knows
Um,
teleportation circle.
For here.
need? I do.
Not every place has the funds
No,
and
but
means
it's an
to make their own
emergency get out of.
established.
Yeah, it's
I
a.
thought you said you knew the circle for life.
White River? No.
Why river?
Nope.
Um,
Unfortunately not. She might be able to learn it if she has enough coin or leverage to convince someone to give it to her.
I'm sure I could convince people.
Sigil, you guys, any magic users would be familiar with this, but our sigils for transportation are basically state secrets because you can't give just anyone access to your, to your back door.
Just imagine an entire army marching through a
Well,
teleportation circle.
it's actually infeasible.
I mean, it's only open for a single turn, yes, but you could get a lot of people running through that door in just 6
That's
seconds.
assuming there's room on the other side to receive them. And most teleportation sigils are located in closed spaces for security reasons.
For this exact
For
reason.
this exact reason.
This is
None
why
of
you
these
potions.
spells are too
Yeah, the
expensive.
potions. There are other
Below
potions.
the wall.
Okay, yeah. What other potions are there?
So there are a number of other potions. He lists off 2 potions of fire giant strength. There are 2. There's 1 potion of leaping and striding. There is a potion of fire resistance, and there is a potion of invulnerability.
What does that do?
For 1 minute, it grants you resistance to all damage.
Including self-inflicted
immunity?
damage?
No, it's.
Oh, is it immunity?
If it's the
For a
invulnerability spell, it's 1 minute full immunity.
No.
I was going to say, invulnerable would imply invulnerable.
Including self-inflicted damage?
Yeah, it means
But
you can't be vulnerable.
If it's
Like your right damage?
Yeah.
Next time I get hurt, I'm like, oh no,
Like,
I'm
it doesn't- yes, you said all-
Does it give you a damage type when you do a right?
It's just damage. It just
If it's just reducing hit points, then no.
it might
it
just
doesn't
be
just
resistance.
reduce hit points. It reduces hit points and hurts me that same amount.
Uh,
As in, like, I cut myself.
If
and
you
I
take damage, then yes.
for
I-
1
I
minute
might be-
after you drink this potion, you have resistance to all damage.
I was
The
mistaken.
actual
Okay.
spell is immunity, but that's because it's a
Full spell slot.
level.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why my eyes got so wide. I'm like, is it that invulnerable?
No.
I gotcha. If it was a spell scroll of invulnerability, that'd be a problem.
It'd be behind
Ah.
glass.
Ah, yeah. Okay.
Magically.
That
I
potion
would-
of leaping?
Leaping and striding?
Leaping and striding, what does that do?
It lets you leap and stride.
Oh.
It's
Basically,
not-
it's basically the jump spell.
I
okay.
don't want to calculate the jump spell.
What is fire giant? How much does that buff you up against?
Potion of fire.
Uh, 20
strength score to
23?
25 to
Oh,
1.
25. Yeah.
So you'd be doing max punches. Like,
Almost max. Yeah.
well, 25. A score of 25 for an hour?
Yeah.
You'd be doing
Well, I guess a
heavy punches.
barbarian only ever gets 24 unless he reads.
That's only a
Pugilist
little.
eventually will get 22 each. But,
Pugilist gets a 22?
that's their capstone.
Nice.
Take the leaping potion.
I'll take the fire giant one.
Okay, there's another fire giant strength. I don't know if anyone else would need it. It would only be you.
I could take it.
Okay.
Have hit harder.
Okay, cool.
Fusion.
Okay, now there are, on the next table over, there are a number of items. Most of them seem to be wondrous items, but there is 1 suit of armor, which is neatly folded, and there is also what appears to be a sword. The armor is just...
What have we got, Frothy?
So it is chain that has been enchanted to be resistant to both cold and fire damage.
It's an icy hot pack.
It is an icy hot pack. It's no, you need to understand. This is a bit of an experiment. We found a way to use some of the infused crystals
that you recovered from one of your recent missions and pack it into this chain of resistance, which was normally resistant to fire damage. We were able to include resistance to cold. However, it's not permanent, meaning if you take enough cold damage, the enchantment goes away. It has durability,
Does
basically.
it recharge at the end of the day?
It can, no. The crystals will need to be replaced. They will crack.
I feel like putting that on might make you dizzy.
Depends on where you put it.
Well, have you ever taken a cold washcloth and a warm washcloth and put them on either side of your ear?
No, but I use icy hot.
Don't
That's
make
what I
you
was
fall
comparing
over.
it to.
Oh.
Anyway. All right. Next to that, the sword apparently has a similar enchantment on it, set into the base of the blade just above the crossguard is a topaz-looking crystal. You actually recognize this as one that you harvested from, what was it, a basilisk down in the Withered Heath, which was about 1.5 years ago.
That where I'm from. Like, is the mountain range there where my orders
No,
from?
you're from the Feral
Okay.
Heath.
Oh, okay. That's
Wait,
it.
did I? I didn't call them both Heaths. One is the Withered Heath, the Feral something.
Oh, okay. Feral. Feral Heath.
What's the Withered?
Feral.
The Withered Gorge? Down in the bottom, in the south?
White River is close to Feral Heath, right? So I'm familiar with White River.
I mean,
because that's Feral
800
Heath.
miles.
It's very close, though.
On the map, it's very close, yes.
In regards to the surrounding.
Yeah, so Lyn
towns.
Terranil geographically is just larger than the contiguous 48 states.
Okay.
So it's
Oh,
just
so
larger
we're
than
looking at,
the
like,
United States.
We're looking at going from like
Alright.
Utah to Arizona, like
Yes,
very
essentially.
long distance. Okay.
Yeah. So, anyway, the sword has been enchanted with an enhanced, basically lightning damage. It is capable of dealing an additional 1d8 lightning with every strike.
Does this one break after? a
Until
few-
after it deals enough lightning damage, it'll break.
What if you have an ability that adds lightning damage on top of that? Would it stack?
No, only the damage caused by the sword would affect it.
Okay. No, I mean with the lightning damage.
It's two
stack.
separate sources.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ultra.
I'll take it if no one else is wanting a lightning sword.
I mean, I like.
It
swords,
is a
I
long
wish they-
sword. It is versatile. So if you're one-handed or two-handed,
So,
Rochambeau.
Hey.
Hey,
Want a
he's just
roll
like,
for
no, I want it.
hey, Cosmere, do you already have an enchanted sword?
Just a longsword +1.
All right, you can grab this guy. I've got a weapon of warning.
Okay. Yeah, I'll take this.
All right.
Any chance there's anything as interesting as like a ring spell story on the table?
Regal spell story. This one. No.
I'm sorry. There's no ring of spell storing. They've become increasingly difficult to come by.
Well, I imagine
Can't-
with all
can't
the
imagine
interviews,
why.
there's probably a lot more people with magic than usual.
Yeah. Well,
Kind
they
of.
seem to be bought up. And in fact, we're not exactly sure where they're all going. However,
just one guy.
it's just
all the spells.
Or Claudius has one.
Claudius has one, which is kind of an heirloom of his, but
It's just Claudius buying all the
he just has them on a chain around his neck. No, actually, this is important because this is actually a hook that I didn't realize was going to be discovered today, which is great.
He's trying to make a one.
Frothy goes on to explain that they've had buyers traveling to all the metropolitan cities, and for whatever reason, rings of spell storing are not available right now. They do not know why, but they're Fegan and some of his agents have started to put together that they think it might be one buyer.
Question. I'm not totally familiar with rings of spell story, and I've just heard of them. Kids, but if there's a spell in it, can you give it to someone who can't spellcast?
For sure,
And
absolutely.
they can.
It's one of the primary uses.
Well, that's not terrifying at all.
So
Oh,
you
it's-
could give a small army of people the ability
Well,
to cast small spells. That'd
Not
be-
our problem at the moment.
Small or large,
Moving on.
depending on how potent you want it to be.
Magic's silly.
Well, not our circus, not our monkeys at the moment.
Alright.
This is Jesse and
So,
Misty right
does
here.
he have a crystal ball?
He does have a crystal ball. Yeah,
Okay.
eventually he travels off and is able to procure one
No,
crystal
wires.
ball.
Ball?
Ball.
Okay,
Alright.
crystal ball.
So, I now have something for Scry.
Oh.
Nice.
Yes, Vosamir.
Two things. Longsword was plus what lightning damage?
1d8 lightning damage with each successful attack.
That's just a normal longsword.
Correct.
Okay.
So it's either the
I'm just
d6 or
gonna
d8.
use a normal longsword and add the 1d8 lightning damage to it.
Okay.
And then second thing, that weird ball thing that I got from the hag last time.
Oh yeah.
What happened to that?
Oh, you don't have that anymore.
I figured.
Yeah. No, that was
It's a crystal ball.
that was requisitioned
Okay.
by the researchers at Chimera.
Okay. Cool. Just taking it off of this. So.
What about that bone necklace that was gonna like kill Sig?
You
We figured
you
that out.
you were able to find
Those are
someone
killed.
in you were able to find someone in this side that was able to remove the curse for you.
Oh, I thought we were just handed it to him. Like now you're.
Hey, you want this? See ya.
No, they were able to remove the curse, and then it's been secured somewhere.
Cool.
Are we traveling with the Grimbeards this time around?
You are not.
It's just
They
us.
requested
It is
just
literally
six.
just the 6 of you.
Interesting.
Let's go.
Alright, let's go!
Anything else
Nothing
in the armory?
else. That was everything.
Do you have any requests?
Groups.
If you request anything, then I could let you know if it is or is not there.
We need bows.
Boats.
Bows. 20.
Long or short?
Long.
I think you would look
yes.
bow.
Yep. There is a
bow on his head.
there is a +1 longbow.
Ooh.
And you're welcome to that. So as far as enchanted items go, like +1 armor or weapons are almost mundane for a chimera.
Mhm.
Not saying that they're not useful, but they're very easy to procure.
+1 fists.
Need some gauntlets for.
That could be something you could commission if you'd like to.
I
New
would like
hands.
to commission new fists.
He said +1 fists. Just fists.
Oh, I heard what you said. You, this guy. You want enchanted fists?
Yes, make me punch.
Do you want
Better?
do you want fists with like a pneumatic press in them?
No, I'd like to keep these ones, but
Are you attached?
I understand. I mean, would you like something to encase your hands?
yeah,
Dang it, I keep copying your accent.
it's contagious. That's what
I'll
my
call you
16
back.
charisma's for.
Maybe
Right.
some brass knuckles or something like
Well, I had assumed that that's what he was asking for.
Yeah, I used to have a pair of brass knuckles.
They broke.
It broke.
that. Oh.
Memories from another life. Right?
1,000-yard stare. Sure. Yeah.
Like, I can see about putting something together for you.
Yeah.
Now, I had something that I wanted you to cook up, and he's going to pull like a small sheet of paper that he's poorly sketched something onto.
Piece of ham. Cook this up, please.
He's a walking oven. Anyway,
Just stick it under my armor and
Can I ask-
slow cooks it.
Hot dang.
hey, now I know what this part is here, but what is this?
It's a holding cell for a familiar. Protective. They're free to come and go as they please, but for
It-
another time.
Is this extra planar or?
No, just like a
Little
metallic flask
Oh, it's just
almost
like a
on the
little
back.
It's for Gedrick, so he
They-
can wander off.
I imagine this is for your familiar.
For Bastian, yes.
Understood. I can see about putting
Like a
something
hang from
together
the
for
shoulder
him.
or something. He often has good senses, so I might want to have him on my shoulder.
Right.
Can't he just sit on your shoulder because he's a bird?
Well, then things want to eat him off of my shoulder, so
It's like
hence the
cage.
shelter.
Oh.
A container for your familiar.
Miniature
You want a
cage.
Pokeball.
Not so much a Pokeball, more like a lantern he can sit.
Remember when I made a Pokeball and
No, we've already played out the
Except
lantern shtick.
Session afterwards.
We did a lot of lantern shit.
All right.
All right, let's leave.
If there was nothing else, so you got your +1 longbow. That's totally fine. For everyone's reference, y'all are level 10. So, until we kind of get you geared appropriately, it's going to be a little bit generous with the gift giving. We need to figure out what the balance is. But here's the thing: I can always make encounters more difficult. I can always raise challenge DCs. So, we'll figure it all out.
Maybe whisper.
What are we doing next?
That's everything.
Go.
Let's go.
Let's go.
All right. So you
Do
head
we-
down
Are there
to.
anyone we need to talk to besides that before leaving? I'm sorry. I
No,
thought you were about to
just
go to a
slap
cutscene where you're like, okay, you're on the road.
Oh,
you
no,
missed some preparations.
No, you head down to the subterranean level of the Chimera Den, to the Nexus Laboratories, making your way over to the now polished and cordoned off jump site, which is basically an enormous arcane circle, which has 6 smaller circles set into the outermost ring of that arcane circle. The arcane circle itself is lined with countless runic equations and draconic sigils and just arcane script. You, Sig, even with actually make an Arcana check for me real quick. 26. Even with your
19%.
extensive and intimate knowledge with arcane magic, there are still parts of this equation that don't make sense. And the hints that you get about those bits of information, they are not of the reasoning of this plane. This seems to be an amalgamation of magic which is both existent on the prime material plane and the nexuses which exist here, but also foreign to this plane of existence.
Do I get that same gist if I look at them?
Make an Arcana check for me.
3. Nope.
Anyway,
All
there's a
of
bunch
it.
of flashy lights.
All of it looks unfamiliar.
Yeah. You will notice that in the 6 spots surrounding the circle are kind of basically researchers. They are part of Aracine's staff, and on a rotating schedule, they are assigned to basically participate in these jumps. As they stand in their circles, they are all barefoot. They all kind of hands slightly raised to their sides, and they begin kind of chanting in unison under breath. It's nothing ominous, nothing demonic. There's nothing cautionary about what it is that they're doing. They just immediately become focused. Their eyes kind of become consumed in kind of an electrical energy, and you watch as first one, then another, and then all 6 of them start cascading electrical charges around, encircling their arms and their legs, and then eventually pouring down into the floor, and then those electrical currents begin racing visibly along all the lines of the arcane circle. And for reference, this arcane circle is roughly 20 feet in diameter. It is much, much larger than one that you would be able to make with the knowledge that you have of your new spell, with your teleportation circle spell. It is capable of transporting 20 to 30 humanoids in a single instance. Aracine is present, as she is with all jumps, when she sees you each approach. Each of you has your tokens, yes? Very good. Make sure you keep them on you, as close to your skin as possible. And we should be able to avoid any mishaps today. As per usual, please watch your step as you make your way into the teleportation circle. Keep your hands and feet close together. If you need to embrace yourself in order to feel comfortable with the experience, do so now. As by the time that I finish this, by the time
between your knees and kiss
Oh,
your bosom bride.
by the time I finish this speech, you will most likely be
Bye.
And we're gone.
and you're gone. Now, the teleportation process utilized by this jump technology is very different from those which utilize anchor points or teleportation sigils on either end, or at least on the receiving end. It is much more chaotic. In fact, you feel a tether, an arcane tether that seems to pierce your belly button, grab a hold of your spine, and yank you forward. And you almost feel this ethereal arcane wind sweeping past you as you are just rifled towards your destination. You arrive heartbeats later, and each of you kind of, you look down at the ground and you notice that at your feet is charred earth. You've been set down in a very lush and wet hillscape. You're surrounded by very succulent and very green, lush trees and foliage of various different varieties, and you have officially entered the Westlands, which, just for reference, is known as the region of Periundor.
The what?
Periundor. Periundor is the region which occupies the western sector of Lyn Terenil. It borders the nation of Vedel, and it is dominated by tradesmiths. Most of the economy of Lyn Terenil is generated here in Periundor.
I look at the charter.
You look down at the ground, and where the grass surrounding you and kind of making its way up the gentle slopes of the hills around you is very lush and green and long. There is kind of scorched, burnt grass directly beneath each of you in a circle which occupies basically the space of your body. I need everyone to roll a Constitution saving throw.
I hope we don't ever accidentally teleport to someone's nice little garden.
Constitution?
Is that what it is?
A 7.
Oh, that is a
It
1.
was a 1.
10.
Okay.
8.
So the
10.
Holy crap.
16.
20,
Okay.
23.
Oh, 24.
I was gonna say
You looked at me like, why do you even need my response?
It was like, y'all are little babies.
All right. So, everyone on this side of the table
Made of rocks.
immediately begins retching.
Magic's beautiful, ain't it, Gedry?
For the rest of the day, until you take a short rest, you will be under the effects of poisoning. Now, you do not have any physical poison in your body.
Okay.
However, you will have disadvantage on all ability checks until you take a short rest.
We're on the same team.
Tanks on
But we're
this
not
side.
throwing up.
Nerds
Yeah,
on
this
this
is
side.
the cool
stuff.
All right, so you have officially left the Chimera Den. You were told if you ever actually hunt Chimera. Yeah.
Right.
Where are we?
We will call them Chimera.
Chimeras.
So, you know that you have been teleported to a spot about 3 miles outside of White River.
Is there any sign of White River, like smoke rising up over tree lines, anything like that?
If you
3
were
miles
to
isn't
make your
that
way to
far,
a vantage point, you would probably be able to see it.
Still have hills. So,
Mhm.
Okay.
You do know from experience that when jumping, it is typically protocol to try and put you in a secluded spot, just at the risk of, 1, frightening anyone who might be passing by, and 2, landing in someone's garden.
Or possible
Since-
arcane discharge, aka explosions.
Yeah, I wonder what would happen if we landed on like a small animal.
It would be cooked.
You'd have cooked beef. Oh wait, that's not a small animal.
Barbecue, I believe is
Yeah.
how you call it.
Cows are small animals.
So, I will, since I'm not throwing up, I'll just kind of watch the tree lines, just make sure that we're not being seen.
Okay, make a perception check for me
I will assist.
with advantage.
Oh, perfect. 'Cause of an hourly assistant.
22.
Okay. So Valsamir and Louis, you kind of make your way up the nearby hills. You're in kind of a glade between a series of hills, and so you walk a distance kind of within eyesight of each other. And as you mount the hills, you, Valsamir, immediately recognize that about 3.5 miles west and north, the land goes from being kind of wild and lush to being cultivated farmland.
Alright, we know which way to go. It is that way.
Claudius,
Tell
we're
me
here.
where it
You
is.
should open the package.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I open up the message and all
Alright.
the info, and let's get debriefed,
Bring all my briefs on.
or deboxered, as the case may be. I'm sorry I went for that.
No,
I
no, it's
regret it
okay.
now.
just yeah. Okay. So the briefing is as follows.
It is of utmost importance that the following message reach the eyes of only 7 individuals whom I trust. One of them being Ulysses Crow, the other 6 being the heroes, otherwise known as the assets of Chimera. Though, in truth, heroes they are, and should be known to be. My name is Gerwaith Kinellis, head of House Kinellis, oligarch of Lyn Terenil, Scalebearer. And I come to you at this time with a matter of great importance and secrecy. For the last 5 years, I have been very generous in my support of Chimera. While that does not earn me anything, because your actions are reserved for those who are of greatest need in our great nation, I would hope that my support of your organization and of your efforts has earned me a bit of understanding from you. I am one of very few people currently working to safeguard the liberties of Lyn Terenil. There are those among the oligarchy who are seeking to subvert it, the liberties of its people and its citizens especially. They would see the royals and the nobles rule with a much more firm hand among the greater populace of our nation. I, over the last 3 years, have been seeking to erect a concord between the nation of Lyn Terenil and our neighbors, the Vedal. To this end, I have been in secret communication with King Lunek Sidon, the young king of Vedal, and I am currently, for the first time, going to be meeting him in person. This will be happening on land sovereign to Lyn Terenil, and for that reason, I have requested, and I do request humbly, that the 6 of you make up my personal guard. I will be clear with you, as you deserve clarity. There are a number of different reasons. One, I should start by saying that I do trust King Sidon. And while he is young, and his history is already marred with the coup of his father and taking his throne, I do trust him. Or rather, I hope after this meeting to be able to do so in full. Second, I'm worried that one of the other oligarchs is currently attempting to stop this meeting. I do not know how news of it escaped my personal attendance. And you can tell kind of by the script of this part that there's a bit of attitude here.
He's kind of an angry stab in his scrolling on the paper.
But I have reason to believe that there may be a threat to this meeting. And so I would ask that you extend your particular talents to safeguarding this venture of nationalism and patriotism. Thirdly, I wish to show you off to King Sidon. I'm sure it has not escaped your attention that I'm a great fan of your works.
Oh,
Hold on.
action figures here.
And I am very supportive of your cause. I hope to be able to continue that support whether you want it or not. This is not a threat.
He writes that, but neither this is not a threat.
So-
You're not wrong. Stop dictating.
LOL.
Lol.
Totally won't kill you in your sleep.
Some
I
heroes go
I have
beyond.
arranged. Some heroes go beyond.
I'm getting some
They call it
boundary.
big. I have arranged for lodging for each of you within the river's blessing. It is the finest of inns in White River. I myself will be staying there with a number of attendants. Primarily among them, Adra Kinellis, head of my personal guard, member of the OTAR, and the only half-elf to have climbed to such a prestigious rank. Please take this as a measure of her trustworthiness and her respectability.
Do we know
Because normally
Canellis? That's his last name as well.
Correct.
Is that usually family names or
That is
just-
very much family name.
Okay.
racism.
I
Sure.
would like this guy's name again, please.
Garwaith. Gaerwaythe.
Yeah, there are too many names here.
Yeah,
Louis
wait.
ain't gonna remember.
Oh, there's going to be so many names by the end of this session.
Yeah,
It'll be
Louis.
fun.
I'm just gonna rely
I'm making
on the
all
rest
kinds of
you.
notes.
Good. Make a
That's
note.
fair.
I just smile and nod.
And just
Just smile and wave. boy.
when the session's over, send me all the questions.
That's fine.
We're, as I mentioned, this is going to be a very cinematic dump on you guys for these first couple of sessions.
Dumb.
So, sincerely, Garwaith Canellis. He doesn't include any honorifics as he signs the page.
X's and O's. He's
That's
Refer to the second page for this awesome fan art.
It's just like stick figures, and it says "me and heroes" hearts. He's holding hands with all of us.
We've got a foot on some downed monster.
Yep. Yeah.
Get there, he's just like 4 years old.
Well, alright, so it looks like
Diplomacy.
this is diplomatic escort mission, though I know I hardly.
Best
Ends up
missions
that
in
way.
video games.
What?
Nothing.
Escort missions.
Escort missions. Those are the best
Well,
missions.
town is about 3 miles that way. I just point off in a direction that it
Alright,
is.
so do you think we should try and
Yeah, what was that?
kind of investigate around town to see if there's anyone we can that might already know about it?
I think we should
Do
just
I?
go straight to the end first and meet with him because he's expecting us,
Of course.
and then from there make a plan with him.
One of my questions that I'll have for him is, he couldn't have come here alone, so
He says he has an entourage.
Correct.
So then we're replacing them, and he's just leaving them here.
We're meeting part of his entourage. They're just not well trained in combat, I imagine. So they're of different
Or he
specialties.
just thinks we'll be more impressive.
Or because there's a spy in their midst that let out the information, he doesn't know if they can trust them all.
Do I know if he has like a wife, their queen skill bearess?
He is married. Yes.
Oh,
He is patriarch of a household.
well done. Good job, kid.
Wives are always the ones you suspect when there's a leak. 'cause-
And that's why you're not married.
Let's go.
Okay, so point of reference. As I mentioned, there's a lot of lore right now. So he mentioned that the head of his personal guard is a member of the OTAR, OHTAR. It is basically the royal military. They are the elite soldiers of Lynn Terranel. That being said, as with most mortal, non-infused beings, their capacities only grow to be so much in a lifetime. However, they are also all elves, so they've had a long lifetime. Just keep that in mind. So don't think that his attendants are incompetent when it comes to combat.
We're just
Okay.
better.
You're just unique.
Yeah.
He knows your
We're
talents.
super.
You're literally supers.
All right.
These guys are like their own SEAL Team 6
Enhanced,
or whatever.
as Captain America would
Family
say.
supers.
Oh, this is just too good.
I'll start leading the way.
No more
So
syndrome lines, please.
he leads the way into town. Yes.
Yeah. On the way to town, I would like to explain to everybody when we get to the end, I'm gonna go sit at a separate table and just keep watch. So just go. If he asks where I'm at, just let him know secretly I'm over at that table, but don't make a big fuss of it because I want to look like I'm not with you.
Okay.
You do that anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this time you guys. So
He
don't
says
say,
this as
"Where's-"
he's walking like 8 feet to the side.
I'll just go.
I'm letting you know so you don't be like, "Oh, Vosimir, why are you sitting over there in the middle of
Should I
us
send?
walking in?"
Should I send a familiar with you again?
We'll be in the
That's-
same.
that's
We're gonna
gonna
be in
come
the
to
same
get
room.
a lot.
I'm just gonna sit at a different table.
Okay.
He thinks we smell.
He's not wrong.
Thinks
I
you
mean-
smell.
I'm cleaner than you.
I smell clean air.
Don't you have like super
It's
sense?
Very humid here.
Yeah.
Very humid, just so you know.
That's really good. I'm so sad. So many people at the table is that. Oh.
All right. So yeah, I'll just keep leading the way.
All right. Okay. So, about 30 minutes later, you arrive just outside the gates of White River. White River is a port town. It is surrounded by about a 30-foot stone wall, which is lined with turrets and parapets and a few towers. Not quite. Not projectiles. Turrets that people stand in. The wall extends out into Vestolfria, which is the name of the large river which runs north-south there. And those of you who have ever looked at a map know that the wall is roughly semicircle, extending into about 50 feet into the river, both on the south and north ends, protecting the harbor of White River. Making your way to the gates, they are open. Travel is welcome and expected. You are not stopped. There is no checkpoint, aside from a number of soldiers on the ground, as well as up in the Barbican above the gatehouse, which kind of just look everyone over as you enter the city. Do any of you go in disguise at all?
I pull my cloak around.
I will.
I was just wondering, like, do you conceal your identities?
I will. Just since I already let everyone know I.
I'll
look like-
conceal
You
it
do, for
easily.
sure.
I have my Cloak of Elvenkind to put up,
Okay.
so it gives me, like, if someone tries to do a perception check, they have disadvantage. That's just how the Cloak of Elvenkind works.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's like
It's like the
Lord of the
I
Rings quote.
will just cover any chimera symbols.
how
Okay.
how
I
well
just look
guarded
like
are
a
the
king.
walls?
Fairly well. A little bit more than a town normally of this size, but you imagine that's simply because the merchants of the town probably hire more guards.
So kind of like a walkway and parapet.
Oh yeah. So the wall is high enough and thick enough that there is a patrol constantly moving along the wall.
Okay.
So, making your way down the cobbled streets of White River, you immediately notice that the buildings here are made from very high-end materials. You have spruce woods from far to the north. You have alabaster stone, which is making up most of the foundations, as well as the sides of buildings. Granite inlays in most of the structural designs, and the people here are definitely on the wealthier side. In fact, even most of the menial workers are dressed very, very nicely. The citizens here are about as wealthy as nobles in other regions of the nation. In fact, you see a couple of Vartio, which are kind of indentured servants, people that are serving off their sentences, their criminal sentences. You see a couple of Bartio that are definitely not in the normal kind of rag cloth which slaves in Linterna wear, but they have just full slacks, shoed and covered feet. Most of them are very well kept as far as their facial hair and their appearance and cleanliness. And the town is just prosperous, and it seems to share its wealth pretty evenly, or at least enough to appease the different classes of society here.
Good competition.
You do know that the river's blessing is near the kind of near the entrance to the docks, which are sectioned off by another kind of a curtain wall which runs north and south through the city, separating the city proper from the docks. And is there anything you want to do before going in that direction?
I'll start to trail behind though at that point.
Okay.
So it was in front.
Yeah, I led the way to the town, but once we get to town,
No.
it's like a shapeshifter.
So you distinctly want to enter separately
Yeah,
from the group.
I'll enter about 30 seconds to a minute after they enter.
Okay.
No. I'll lean into. I'll lean over to Sig and I'll be like, "So, do you see anyone trailing us already?"
I see one.
Just a very grumpy blood
Hunter.
hunter, but
That was who I saw.
do we want to keep an eye out?
I'll
Most
watch
likely, if this is going to be all cloak and
Can I
dagger.
try and subtly see if anybody's following us?
Yeah, make a perception check.
I see a grumpy blood hunter.
23.
Okay. It takes about 25 minutes, just with the slower pace of moving through the town, to get from the southernmost gates all the way kind of to the heart of the city and to the west towards the river and the port district. Keeping an eye out, there are definitely some people giving you looks, and it may seem that there are some people that recognize you as a collective. Your reputation is varied among the people of Linterna. There are some who decry your actions and your existence as infused. There are, for lack of a better, no, I won't label them. There are enthusiastic people who believe that infused, regardless of whether they are humanoid or beastly, are abominations. And they should not exist. They are unholy. They have been made by something that is not of this world. Though, on the opposite side of the aisle, there are those who all but worship you. Now, the difficulty is that you are the only infused that are not rampantly killing people. Because even till this point, there have been no other sentient infused that have not gone into a mad rage and attempted to kill those whom they should have loved or protected. You don't exactly know why that is, and there's a good bit of research being dedicated by Chimera, the Nexus organization, into trying and figuring out why you six, for whatever reason, are not going feral.
Question.
Yeah.
Were all of the infused made at once? Like
No.
No? Like so things can still become infused.
There are first generation infused, and those are the infused that were literally part of an impact.
Yeah.
You were at a crash site and you were instantaneously changed. Then there are second generation infused, and they were created by the fallout of the Vespral alignment. Now there are third generation infused, which are those who have come about by breeding. Third generation infused are scary.
Cool. Are there outward signs of someone being infused if they look just normal like us?
Your experience with the infused, both beastly and humanoid, it is possible for there to be physical signs.
I mean, like specifically for me, or like because like my infused ability is nobody would really know I have
Exactly.
it.
Yep.
And so like, do they know just because Chimera's made it public that we're freaks, or?
They know mostly because rumors
You're-
propagated the idea that you might be infused, and no one really said you weren't.
The idea that we are above what others can do.
Well, it's very known that you are way more capable than any of you should be, especially like for your ages, most of you.
They're just jealous.
If anybody's looking aggressive, is there anybody actually trailing behind us besides Sourpuss here?
You don't currently see anyone tailing you.
Okay.
You do see some sour looks, but no one's aggressive towards you.
Sour looks I'll meet with a wink or a wave and just like I know what you're looking at. I'm adorable. So
They are off put
okay.
by your friendliness.
Okay.
You said no one's.
I didn't. They got to roll for that, but I didn't.
I was just deciding how they reacted to you being charismatic and pretty.
He said nobody was following us except for.
No one seems to be tailing you.
Okay.
What's the end look
Now is
like?
everybody tailing me?
The inn, when you arrive at the inn, it is a massive building of alabaster stone. It is a little over 3 stories tall. And I say that because there are 3 primary levels, and then there appears to be a smaller kind of bit sitting on top of the 3rd level, probably not a full floor. It could be the top of an atrium or something like that, or a rooftop garden. The 1st level juts out a little bit further than the levels above. There are massive, or rather very wide stone columns which ring the entire front of the 1st level, and they seem to support most of the weight of the building from what you can tell. It's also lined with with beautiful carvings and scroll work up and down each of the columns. There's beautiful wooden fencing between each of the columns, and there seems to be, it seems that the common room has almost like barn-style doors that are opened up during the day, which allow the common room to flood out into kind of this large patio section out in front of the building. The doors themselves, the entrance rather, you climb a low set of stairs, maybe 4 or 5 steps, and then a massive double arched doorway is open, and there's traffic passing in and out, though there's also traffic passing on and off of the patio just as freely. Would you all care to enter at this point?
Yeah.
Okay. Just didn't know if there was anything else that you guys wanted to discuss first. Entering the inn. It is to say it was the nicest inn in White River was one thing, but it didn't do it justice. As you walk in, the first thing that you notice is the beautiful velvet red carpet which lines the entryway and proceeds down past what you assume to be kind of a reception desk and leads all the way to a beautiful, deep, dark wooden spiral staircase which ascends into upper levels. To the left is the massive common room, which is currently lined with both long rectangular and round tables. Each of the tables is set with beautiful, tall, kind of high-backed wooden chairs with either gold or silver inlay into the scroll work which lines them and into the end caps for the armrests. There are 4 hearths which you can see lining the common room in various places, all of them dimly kind of low blazes in them at this point with the early spring chill, and the common room is full of people haggling and bartering. Many individuals in very eloquent and pompous clothing with lots of frilly just hats and poofing shoulders and just everything that you would expect from pompous merchants As you enter, did you have a question? Okay. As you enter, you are immediately noticed by what appears to be kind of a doorman, a small youth of a human, maybe 17, 18 years old. He is very dapperly dressed in trousers and a suit coat. He has a very close-fitting tunic underneath, and his hair is very, very neatly coiffed and just slicked back over the top of his head, trailing back kind of at the nape of his neck. He gives each of you a very respectable bow, and he welcomes you. Welcome to the River's Blessing, friends and guests. I would hope that our welcome here is to your liking.
A pleasure to make your acquaintance, Master. What's your name again?
He goes from
already-
holding
did
his
he-
hand out to then taking it as if he had been expecting something else.
It's like the guy in Home Alone.
Yes.
Oh, is this the guy the
Asking for a
innkeeper, or is he
No.
like the waiter or something?
No, he introduces himself. My name is Pellegrin, and I will be your liaison into the... very nice. How exactly may we assist you here at the River's Blessing? Do you have any baggage? Would you like rooms? Food, maybe? We have some of the best kitchens here in White River.
We're here to meet someone first, and then
Yes.
for an inland conversation. and
We
then
host
get
many
back.
pre-arranged meetings between friends, counselors, merchants, buyers, sellers. Whatever your needs are, I'm sure we can fill it.
If the meetings are all prearranged, you should probably already know who we're meeting with.
Well, I'm sure that we have you in the books if you are indeed expected, if you'll follow me. And he kind of turns, and all of a sudden the coin just disappears.
Right.
Not really sure where it went, but go ahead and mark it
In
off.
walks Vosimir. Where'd everyone go?
So they're about 40 feet in front of you
Okay.
at the reception desk.
I think I see
And you can see them as they're starting to have a conversation with this very, very handsome woman, as is true of every single innkeeper in every campaign that I've
Wait,
ever run.
hold on. The small thing was a woman?
Oh,
You
that
met-
was
you met
when
the
they're
doorman.
Now talking
Oh,
to you.
now we're
Okay.
talking to us.
Yeah, so he was.
Sometimes it's hard to tell.
Yes, I gave him a very young voice. Sorry if that was confusing.
Do we basically are we brought to like a welcome desk, like a?
Yes, you're brought to like a reception desk.
Is it more of
essentially.
a hotel?
It is basically a hotel.
I kind of sweep my cloak around my chimera symbol that I have, and just as casually as moving my hair,
Mhm.
and I just go. I believe they're expected for the chimera party.
Hello, handsome woman.
Well, it is very nice to make your acquaintance. I've been instructed not to ask for names.
I put another coin on the
However-
table.
Will you be taking rooms with us?
Don't
That
know.
remains to be seen, depending on what our patron requires.
Understood. Well, for the sake of privacy, here are a pair of keys. She reaches underneath the table. One is to a private study, which has been requisitioned by your patron. The second is to a storeroom on the 3rd floor. I've been told that should anything have had happened to your patron, I was to give you this. However, I will allow you to discuss with him what is to be done with it now.
Perfect.
So one of them is brass, the other is silver.
Okay.
The brass key she denotes is the one to the storeroom on the 3rd floor.
I leave 5 gold on the counter, and then head up.
That's a lot of money.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Gotta act VIP if you want VIP.
We will have a meal brought to you in the study.
Edward Gedrid leaves a stick on the counter.
He's like a crow. He just
Gedrid leaves a stick on the counter.
Sometimes Louis wakes up in the morning and there's bottle caps
Or
and
the
soda
bringing you
top
something.
things on my desk from Gedrid.
I thought it was pretty.
Excellent. So, you are shown the way to the private study, which has been reserved for your arrival here on the first floor of the River's Blessing. Eventually, arriving to it, it is a beautiful gold inlaid door, which has a massive handle near its center and a keyhole next to it.
This door is locked. Might have to spend some time figuring out how to get it. Oh, that works.
You hear some shuffling from inside, and then a feminine voice kind of calls out, muffled through the door.
Oh.
Hello? Who's there?
For the Chimera party?
We gave you a key for a reason.
And you hear just click, 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 and all of a sudden the door opens. And this shorter, half-elven woman kind of opens the door, and she has a very no-nonsense look on her face.
Can I deduce that this is Audra? Or...
You can assume that this is Audra, yes.
Okay. I nod apologetically and say, I'm not used to entering a room without announcing myself. I apologize. And then just, is there like a coat rack or something?
There is. So before you is a beautiful, beautiful study. 3 of the 4 walls are lined with bookshelves. The 4th wall lined with a massive hearth. In the room with this half-elven woman are 3 rather stout, sturdy-looking elven men, each of them in plain clothes, but very clearly soldiers. A 4th individual lies kind of prostrate on the rug in front of the hearth, and on the lithe figure you see, oh my goodness, so sorry, pardon me. You see that she is covered in a black and orange brindle fur. And as you enter, she gives you the barest of glances before kind of turning back to just relaxing on the rug there in front of the fireplace.
Now that I see what kind of place this is, I'll have gone up to the group and entered with them.
Cool.
As we're
Who's in the
entering,
room?
This isn't it.
like just as
Again.
You're just sitting in the
we're coming in, is there any like ceiling space above the door?
Ceiling space?
Like
Yeah,
rafters or?
Well, yes. So the ceiling itself climbs to be about 15 feet high, and the room's about 40 feet long, and about 20 feet wide. And every 10 feet or so, there's a series of rafters that kind of have a beautiful, almost triangular shape to them as they extend from one wall to the other.
Okay. So this is looking out into the common room, or is there
No,
a hallway?
This is
going?
a closed study.
Close
Okay.
study.
Is
There,
is-
I was trying to pay attention, but is there any sign of our patron anywhere? Other
Not
than
in this room.
Not in this
Nope.
room.
Not that you can see.
So as we're going into this room, I would just like to pop my familiar up in the rafters so he can watch the entrance that we were walking through, the locked door, right?
What's his current form?
The bat.
Okay.
So tiny.
So he
little
makes his
puff
way
of
up to the so a tiny puff of soot just kind of appears next to Claudius's right shoulder, and all of a sudden goes fluttering up to the rafters where it secures its hold and hangs upside down, watching each of you. The half-elven woman.
I'm glad that each of you made it here. My name is Audra Canellis. I am first among the Scale Bearer's personal guard.
What seems to be wrong, Audra?
I'm just assessing each of you. It's my job to be cautious.
She might not be used
A
to
good policy.
She gave me a funny look. It's because I'm a halfling, that's why I'm so short.
No, you're familiar to me.
It's okay. We've
You're kind.
conscripted a child.
I have a mustache.
Some children have mustaches.
She looks at you distrustingly.
He does.
Emily,
Just because he looks like a dick doesn't mean he's not trustworthy.
we
Thank
are
you.
here to persuade. What?
This guy
amount
gets
to service?
Well, for starters, you can sit down, we can have a bloody drink and get something to eat. I'm starving.
And that's where we're going to take a break.
Okay. Get real food. Okay, got it.
Yeah, because I need some real food. So, guys, we're going to go and take a break for about 15 to 20 minutes. We will be back. We'll be playing for about another hour and a half tonight. This will be true to our format moving forward. Playing 4-hour segments, give or take. We all know how D&D goes. But we'll try to take a 15 to 20 minute break in between. We all know that everyone has their own personal needs, getting up to use the restroom, getting food, drink, whatever it is. In our effort to maintain kind of just the cleanliness of the game table appearance, we'll try not to eat at the table as much as possible because we know it can be very distracting. Anyway, we look forward to coming back to you guys right after this break.
5, 4, 3.
All right. Hey, welcome back from break, everybody. Hope everyone was able to fill their tummies with something a little bit sweet. We did have a little snack in between, and we are ready to go on our last hour and 15 minutes of this session. There's a little bit of an echo in the room. We will take care of that. But let's go ahead and get back to our heroes as they meet with the entourage of Gerwaith Kinella, Scalebearer and Oligarch of Lynn Terran. So, the 6 of you find yourselves now making yourself comfortable inside the study, the private study located in the heart of the River's Blessing Inn/Hotel. The room is very, very finely decorated. There are hundreds and hundreds of books. There are a number of very comfortable armchairs and a couple of small couches. There are a number of tables which are currently lined with the remnants of most likely a drink that had been served earlier before your arrival. There are a number of boards for playing stones or chess. It's just a very, very comfortable environment to be in. There is one other door in the back of the room. You don't know where it leads, but everyone in the room, there are 5 individuals. Audra Pinellis, the female half-elf, which is the head of Scalebearer Canellis' private guard. There are 3 soldiers, all elven and male. And then there's the Tabaxi female, which is currently splayed out before the fireplace reading a book.
Tabaxi female?
Correct.
Splayed out.
No.
Yeah. Oh, very feline in her splaying.
Oh.
Okay.
Sorry.
Before that goes anywhere.
Yeah.
Display in a lot of different ways,
There's
none of
the
which are
cats.
flattering.
No.
So,
Played by Taylor Swift.
Rip.
so
Can we get an F in the chat?
are we waiting for the arrival of our patron?
He'll be arriving shortly. He is very anxious to meet you. And I must say that I am also rather excited. I've seen you in the past, though it's only been at certain political galas or events, or unfortunately, my duties prevented me from introducing myself. For now, please accept that I am very humbled by your presence, but also very grateful that you've committed to protecting my charge. I would ask, though, that you remember that I am primarily responsible for his safety. And I am very grateful for your assistance, though I do expect that we will be working together.
Absolutely.
It's your show.
Before he wrong accent, that was Scald. Before he arrives, he mentioned inside of his communication with us that he suspected there was a leak about his purpose here. Usually, sometimes it's not very fun to mention or accuse certain people in front of whoever we're talking about. And so I was wondering, is there anyone you personally suspect that you wouldn't talk to the king about just because he might take offense at it, or do you have any ideas in general?
About who the leak might be?
Mm-hmm.
The moment you start talking about leak or someone being unfaithful, all 3 of the soldiers kind of grow really squeamish, and one of them, his hand almost hovers towards his hip where his sword normally would be. And Audra's face darkens visibly.
Yes, well, we have been doing our best to root out anyone who may have been unfaithful in their obligations concerning the privacy of our patron.
Have you found anyone?
Well,
Probably many.
if we have found anyone that was not the leak, well, they were bothersome anyway, and they won't bother us anymore.
Sweet.
Impressive.
The Otar does not take kindly to traitors.
Do you take kindly to chess?
Of course.
Would you care to go around?
Well, we may have the time for it. Until our patron arrives, we can't really do anything else. He was very clear that I'm not to share any more information with you until he arrives. So, make yourselves comfortable. I believe food and drink is on the way.
Is the tabaxi person like, she's dressed, right? It's not like a pet.
She is clothed.
Because
It's
we
not
just
Princess Leia.
we just didn't get like introduced to the cat person, so I'm like, what's their social status? I don't know if they're pets or like sentient.
I would just like to play chess with.
I'll approach the soldiers and nod to them. Nice to meet you all. And I'm not sure if we've been acquainted as of yet.
Mm-hmm.
Claudius Gillenhard.
Yeah, the center of them kind of extends his hand towards you and kind of grasps your forearm in a traditional salute.
Darylyn, these are my companions. We have not met, nor had I ever expected to meet any of you. We are what we are. We give our life for those whom we protect, and if it comes to paying that price, we do so willingly. For now, we are all here protecting the same thing, and I am grateful for your assistance.
Of course. Wouldn't have it any other way.
Yes. Well, if you need anything,
She didn't
He's
give
like,
it to you.
Don't ask me.
Yeah, bummer.
How many windows in this room?
None.
None.
This is interior room.
Interior room. Perfect.
Sweet.
I will
Could
find.
roll for the game?
I'll find a chair.
Sorry.
Just kind of lean it back up against the wall and pull out a pipe and smoke it. Just waiting. If this is a non-smoking room,
There's no such thing as a non-smoking
okay,
room.
just making sure.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, yeah, and just waiting, but being observant of any sounds outside of the room and listening for anybody might be coming.
I'm just gonna stand by the door.
And then
Toby?
just lay down and try to get the poisoning of the junk off.
You lay down on one of the small sofas?
Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, so how tall are you?
6 foot.
Yeah. So the very tall Tobias attempts to splay out over one of the very comfortable looking, almost like love seats in the room. And you see him go through a series of different positions. Like finally he ends up with like one leg over one of the arms of the couch and his head just like buried in the pillows on the couch.
Graceful.
Okay. Sig, what were you saying?
I was hoping I could roll for the game.
Oh, you're rolling for the game. So this is now a logic test, as you are playing against a potentially skilled opponent. We are going to be making a series of ability checks,
Cool.
and please remember that you are rolling at disadvantage because of the teleportation sickness.
I will cast Lesser Restoration on myself.
Okay. Okay.
Listen.
So you proceeded across from her. You pull out your components and cast Lesser Restoration on yourself.
Let me see if it even has any.
Just letting
It does
Toby
not have
suffer
any
while
components,
you play
so it
chess.
just. I apologize for the
It has no consumed components.
It has no components. It's only verbal and somatic.
Oh, awesome.
So I just took.
Well, I was thinking of greater. I'm sorry.
It's been a long trip. Hold on. And or a jostling trip, and I just cast Lesser Restoration on myself.
Sure.
Not. Assuming that was allowed. Okay. So.
As you cast the spell on yourself, she's in the process of like setting up the board, and she looks at you distrustingly.
Oh.
Be like cheating.
Well, I say we be about it then.
And she holds out both of her hands towards you.
I just go. Okay, fine.
White, you're first.
And then I just spin it onto the board.
Sig actually doesn't know how to play chess.
I know. My
Play
intelligence
it
score is
like
actually
checkers.
pretty okay. Thank you. I will make the first move.
Okay. So we're gonna make 3 checks here.
Okay.
Even though a normal game of chess lasts for like at least 30 minutes.
That's the
We're just gonna make depends on the
how
game.
bad you are.
Yeah, exactly. So these will be contended checks, and we're going to do first just a straight intelligence check.
Okay.
Then we're going to do an insight check.
Awesome.
And then we're going to do a deception check.
Ooh, fun. All right.
Okay, so roll one at a time and make a note of your result.
Okay. So the first one is just straight
Just
intelligence.
straight intelligence.
Straight intelligence. Okay. Natural 20.
Okay. Awesome.
Plus
Record your total.
She
3,
moves
so
the chess
20.
piece with her mind. The first move.
Right. Okay.
Who's Professor X?
And then the second one's
Insight.
insight, yes.
So you work out a lot.
Ooh, not as good, but still okay.
Okay. And then the last one's deception.
Correct.
Why?
Just so you're aware, the intelligence check is just for your ability to understand the game and to play according to the rules. The insight check is your attempt to perceive your opponent's strategy,
Okay.
and your deception check is your attempt to fool your opponent.
Okay. As we are going through,
Mhm.
was wondering if I could just try and get a feel for how aggressive her
Playstyle is
playstyle is.
very
Okay.
incredibly,
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay.
like
All right.
bludgeon over anything
Right.
else.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, oof is right on that one.
You are family.
So is it a 2
Interesting.
out of 3 kind of situation?
It'll be a 2 out of 3.
Okay.
Okay. Well, so the game progresses,
Okay.
and you begin with your opening move, and everything that she does is either counter or attack, and there's no subtlety
Okay.
from what you can tell. Please give me the results of your intelligence check.
23.
To her 4.
Oh gosh.
She actually doesn't know how to play chess.
She continues moving piece after piece, almost haphazardly.
Okay.
In response to yours, you do sacrifice. You lose a few pieces strategically. You know that's part of the game.
Mhm.
She gladly takes them, and she only seems to pause to think after she's made a move, which
Okay.
is the wrong time to do it.
Right. But also that tells me she's what kind of person it is.
At first, ask questions.
Okay.
Later.
And then
Your insight check, please.
17.
Okay. To her 24.
She knows all your moves.
So,
Neither of you.
No, I just rolled really bad.
the two of you are. What was your total?
17.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, the two of you are constantly just exchanging blows back and forth. Yours is a very deft, very subtle, and very intelligent approach to the game, where hers is just bludgeon after bludgeon, not being afraid to
As
sacrifice
many
pieces,
pieces as it would take to take it
exchanging pieces, working
Okay.
towards a goal. And then finally, your deception check, please.
down.
To her 20.
Okay.
So,
Interesting.
A draw.
towards the end
Both
of
of us have the key.
towards the So towards the end of the
One
game,
knight and a king.
you begin to notice that all of the bludgeoning, all of the corralling that she's been doing and forcing you to react to her, just what seemed to be her stupid plays. You now realize that you're about 3 moves away from either checkmate or stalemate. The moves progress. You counter, you feign. She does the same. And eventually, the soldiers, one of them kind of looks over and he whistles a little bit. And then, what's your passive perception?
22.
Right through here. He kind of just whispers to his companions, "Oh crap, she's not gonna be happy tomorrow." And
If I hear that, can I intentionally lose?
can you intentionally lose? Sure, if you'd like to. So, if
Actually, no. How someone handles losing is also another way to tell who I'm doing. So.
you continue kind of the dance, and finally you're down to 2 pieces each. King and a bishop, king and a knight.
Okay.
The dance continues. Pieces are just constantly threatening one another. Eventually, because of necessity, kings are brought into very dangerous proximity of one another, and it's reached a point where there's no way, unless someone slips up, that there will be a loss.
Okay.
So she sort of just looks at you and almost gives you a begrudging little half quirk of a smile. You play very well.
So do you?
And she kind of studies you and then reaches forward and topples her on the king.
That says a lot too. So, well, we could have gone all night, but I imagine we have more pressing matters.
Well,
Speaking
Yes.
of pressing matters, I will sit back and watch through Bastion's eyes of the hallway outside.
He has no view of the hallway outside.
You
you
kept him
send
in the
him outside?
rafters.
I put him
his
in the
room.
rafters outside the room as we were
Oh,
entering.
I
outside the
apologize.
room.
I thought you were asking for raptors inside the library.
No.
You can keep them in the hallway outside, yes. Okay.
while they're playing chess, I'm gonna play tic-tac-toe
With himself.
with myself.
Are
Describe.
you rooting for the X's or the O's?
Little keys.
Doesn't. Both.
You can't be rooting for both.
That's why it's a true man's game. Describe my tic-tac-toe just as
Oh,
beautifully.
God.
Just as beautifully as the chess game?
The dance continues.
That was-
an X and an O. Another
I
X.
just see. Sorry, I had something to say. I forgot.
That's okay. So, about 35 minutes into the game between Adra and Sig, the door at the back of the room opens, and I'm sorry, the tabaxi, all of a sudden, without any, and she hasn't spoken to anyone, by the way, till this point, and any attempts to converse with her, she almost ignores. She closes her book, stands, and about 3 seconds later, the door at the back of the room opens, and in walks Skillbearer Canellis. He's escorted by 2 soldiers. He walks into the room and immediately just, you're all here. Well, this is a treat. Come, have you had refreshments? Have you been served to your liking? Every expense has been covered. Our stay here tonight will be one of great comfort, and hopefully one of great strategical maneuvering and planning.
Yeah. I'm good at that.
I sweep up to
Hi,
him.
this tic-tac-toe.
Wow.
I lost myself. Oh, curse it. Scale.
You're like, neither side ever wins. You're like, why can't I do this?
It's impossible. Never.
My lord, and I do a little curtsy and say,
He returns it respectfully with a slight nod.
shall we have proper introductions?
Oh, yes. I forget. I've heard so much about each of you, and I've followed your exploits and your adventures for so long that I feel like I know each of you. I am Scalebearer Gerwaith Kinellis, head of House Kinellis and humble patron of Chimera. And I am very, very grateful to make your acquaintance.
Okay, Andy is confused.
This is like
Who's Who's Garway?
Garway
That
is the
is-
scale bearer.
Okay,
This
so
is the
he
guy.
is Garway.
He's the royal.
Okay, we're good. Continue.
This is like a.
Yeah, so he gives
I was
now. I was thinking we were doing. I was like, make a traditions check. That's not this game. Who here is a half elf? You're full elf, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so anyone who has elven blood, you are basically taught from birth
Elves are superior.
about the relationship, the expectations of royalty. In case you ever come in contact with them, you know what to expect from them, what their behavior means, what even the slightest twitch of their fingers could implicate. And so, when you witness him give the bow that he does to each of you, the three of you notice that it is way beyond what is appropriate for someone of his station to offer each of you. Meaning he does you great honor.
Okay.
I
Well, it's
bow in
nice.
a likewise manner. Just, I have no idea what's going on, so sure, I'll. Yes, match it. My parents taught me about manners, sure.
And over here, my lord, we have.
Claudius Kilnhart.
Claudius Kilnhart. Yes.
Pleasure.
The
sir.
Cinder Knight of the North. I'm very
Thank you.
familiar with you. It's a pleasure.
And well met.
Are you
That's kind of
Finally good to meet you.
are you warm to the touch?
Of course.
This whole room gets.
Right.
Sig
And
is
I cast control flame and do a little bit of puff of fire straight upwards.
just so you know,
Perhaps
this
not
guy
the
is
best
280 years old.
That's like
But
a
he is
baby.
acting like a kid right now. Master
I
Cordright.
like that Cinder Knight.
Gedrid
That's me.
Cordright.
I never heard your last name.
I've told you.
Your particular talents are somewhat of a fascination of mine. I have seen some of your handiwork,
Really?
yes, and I am looking forward to seeing it in person.
Was it a live one or a dead one?
It was both, actually.
Well, that's what I mean. Was it like a walkie type or was it a grow on the ground type? Never mind.
He was capable of locomotion, ambulation. He could walk.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
He possessed the power.
He did not possess the power.
Oh, goodness.
And Mr. Louis,
Howdy. That's my name.
I'm a very large fan of yours.
Not as large as him.
The way you
Punch
Just-
things.
get things done. Well, I am so absolutely pleased.
I'm glad to hear it.
Like a JoJo pose.
Gosh. I don't. I just continue to stand there.
And
Just you hear this little voice in your head that just is Sig talks into a little wound copper spun copper ring and just I've been using message on you forever. Like you know who
And
it's
every
me.
time it's
Say it louder.
What?
Say it louder.
That's true.
Mess and just pow, pow, just like very gentle, like.
Bowed.
and there was actually a little bit of not anger, but nervousness growing on his face. And then you bowing kind of alleviates that. For him, you bowing to him is a sign that everything's okay.
Like you're hello.
Like that's
Hi,
the
friends.
perception of from a royal's point of view, that if someone bows to me, it means that everything is okay. And then, of course, the mysterious Vosamir.
I finally stand up at this point and actually bow back.
He nods, accepting kind of the gesture. I
I have questions for you, though I understand you may not be too eager to answer them. Perhaps in a more private setting.
I prefer that.
And Lady Sig, the mistress of musicality and charm. I am looking forward to hearing what you produce out of this venture. Perhaps, maybe, even a story.
I have a few stories and songs tucked away if you're interested for later. And also, you would know my compatriots. And then I just try and like slide into a second introduction because I'm also embarrassed.
You're like,
So-
get away from me.
I'm like,
Of course.
not.
The young Tobias.
I'll do it like a full like elf traditional.
Can I get passive insight scores from everyone, please? Insight plus 10, please.
13.
14?
13.
13.
Passive insight.
15.
What's your passive insight?
Oh, my passive insight.
10.
Plus 10.
Don't matter.
14.
Here's 14.
It's a lot. Passive? Oh,
It's wisdom.
yeah, 16.
Okay, that's fine. So, everyone except for Vosamir and Louis. When the scale bearer looks at Tobias, his face actually grows a little bit more stern, almost like not so much a glare, just very weighing, very much a look up, measuring and calculating.
Is it almost like he's
Yeah.
holding him to a higher standard
Mhm.
because of okay?
We know Toby's like some sort of prissy boy, right?
Some kind of
Well, it's not that he's a prissy boy; it's, he's a full-blooded elf.
Oh.
So yeah, Sig kind of nailed it on the head. It seems as though the scale bearer is all of a sudden holding Tobias to a much higher expectation than the rest of the people in the room. And as he sees kind of your full bow, he acknowledges it with a nod that you know to mean you've passed.
The dab is
Yes, the young Tobias. To be honest, I haven't heard much of your exploits before joining Chimera. That's different for those others in the room. Though, I'm excited to hear that you've made a name for yourself.
I'm excited too.
Well, maybe we all adjourn to my private room. I have some excellent food and beverage there, and we can discuss a little bit more about our plans for tomorrow. If you would all be comfortable doing so, please escort me up. Not escort me. Please allow my men to escort you upstairs. Through, of course, this private means of ascension. We don't need to go back out into the common room.
Wait, what? There's an elevator in here?
Upstairs.
Stairs.
Oh, there's stairs.
It would be our plan.
I've just noticed the stairs.
They're through the door that he came in from.
Down the hall.
You ain't seen them before, Louis.
Okay,
But
just
I'm
making
glad
sure.
you noticed them.
I noticed them now.
What happens when you zone out for 10 seconds? Wait, what did I miss?
Alright, so
I'm
we,
dead!
we are
How many
escorting-
zones?
So we're
Yeah,
escorting-
so some of the soldiers walk before, and then the scale bearer goes right after them, and then he sort of ushers the lot of you to follow. And then the narrow hallway. Oh, you do notice that right behind the scale bearer, the Tabaxi woman walks.
Nice.
It's not what you think, I promise.
He's got an
The
exotic.
narrow
Stream,
hallway
remember?
expands after about 20 feet or so, and then you find yourselves at the entrance of a tall spiral wooden staircase, which presumably leads up towards the third floor, which you're on the first. And as you follow it upward, it does seem to skip the second floor entrance and goes directly to the third floor. The study which you were in seems to be solely reserved for the people that are allowed to stay on the third floor. So, eventually you reach the top after a decent climb, and you find yourself standing at the front of what appears to be an atrium. The atrium is lined with many different plants that all kind of grow out into an open air balcony. That balcony is lined with different seating and chairs, and there are a number of tables which currently are empty, though you do see behind one of them is a man that's kind of serving or getting ready to serve table for the evening. And he's just sort of putting everything together. When he sees the scale bearer ascend the stairs, he gives a very formal bow and asks if he needs anything or if he or his guests require anything. And he puts in a small order until eventually he leads you into the building. So you're no longer in kind of the glass shrouded atrium, but you make your way down a wide hallway, and then you now find yourself kind of in a ring of what appear to be the nicer rooms of the inn, the presidential suites, so to say. Anyone who is of high standing will most likely stay here. He leads you to kind of the back left corner, and just for frame of reference, here's the floor. Okay. So you entered from the spiral staircase over there in the atrium, made your way towards me along the hallway, and then this roughly circular hall extends around a number of very nice rooms, as well as rooms for kind of hangers-on, attendants, manservants, things like that. He leads you back to this corner room. Yep, that one right there. And kind of opening the door, he welcomes all of you in. There are a number of fine kind of seating areas. There's also a very busy-looking study desk, which is just littered with papers and maps. And there is a fire going in the hearth, and immediately the tabaxi woman looks towards the scale bearer, and with his nod, she just goes over and sits next to the hearth. This time in a chair, not on the floor. She seems to be now observing etiquette a little bit more, since the scale bearer is in the room with her. And once two of the 5 soldiers enter the room, the other 3 stay outside. Adra also enters the room, and once that entire group has entered, the door is shut and the sentries remain on alert in the hallway. The scale bearer makes his way over towards a counter with refreshments on it, pours himself a glass of chilled wine, raises it towards each of you.
Please, help yourself. We have no servants here, and I would very much enjoy if you were comfortable. There will be food and drink brought to us very shortly, though I would, for this time, enjoy the opportunity to answer any questions which you may have regarding tomorrow's meetings and your responsibilities there.
He just takes a long pull and almost like shakes himself a little bit.
What kind of refreshments are we talking about here?
Literally anything you might ask for.
Within reason, of course, as long as it's native to this plane.
Oh. Wow. That's incredible. I just meant in the room or at handy or even just some water.
There is water and chilled wine right now. Food is on the way. Yes, he can drink water.
You gotta stay hydrated.
But I'm not at boiling temperature, otherwise you'd burn when you touched me.
I don't touch you.
You need a
Dirty.
He's just being sarcastic, but he walks over and gets himself some water.
Okay.
Got any cannolis?
Cannolis can be ordered, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, haven't had one in. Wow.
Yes. Yes, since Finland Jinko's.
So,
Trans-dimensional
what?
restaurant.
Sorry to get down to business so quickly. I just kind of grab myself, wine, just sit down.
Yep.
And so, what makes you so sure that somebody's going to be a problem?
Ah, right, that question. Well, over the last month and a half, a number of my staff have resigned. He doesn't mean resigned.
Right.
I got that.
I didn't get it.
Initially, we replaced them with members of my own family, as is tradition. Unfortunately, it was discovered that one of those which was hired was not
Part of your
my
family?
They appeared to be, and they had the credentials of one of my family. You need to understand, my family is very large.
Like at least 8.
Bigger than that.
He's not talking just immediate family. We're talking cousins
Correct.
and
Oh,
aunts and
right.
uncles
We're
and
talking
once
more
and
than
twice
hands
and
and
thrice
toes.
removed and all that jazz.
All right.
That's why I keep the rest of them
Needless
around.
to say, it was discovered that the individual which had been hired was a changeling, in fact.
Oh.
And she had managed to infiltrate very deeply into the heart of our organization. And we fear that we did not catch her before she was able to, I keep saying her because she represents a female cousin of mine.
Is the female cousin actually alive?
Probably
I
not.
thought they would leave that kind of
I will
loose end.
allow you to make that assumption.
Sorry for your loss.
I appreciate the condolence. Thank you. We fear that before we were able to discover the treachery, she had been able to glean that we were setting up meetings with the King of Veda. Because of that, we worry that we may have opposition being sent to stop us. It is for this reason that I asked Ulysses to allow me to supplicate you for your service. I would ask that you, the 6 of you, coordinate the security of tomorrow's meeting. There will be a large area in order to cover, though I believe that with your particular talents and skills, we will be able to do just that. I should have you know that the 6 of you, plus the 5 of my soldiers, plus my personal attendants, make up the 12 which have been allotted for me to bring. The same number has been agreed upon by King Sidon.
Did you find out who the changeling was working for?
Of course not. They're very good at withholding information.
I do have a question.
We did try.
Would the other scale bearers? No, let me finish. I'm sorry, my highness.
He talks real slow.
Oligarchs. Scale bearer is his specific title.
I see.
Yeah.
Would the other oligarchs, do you think that they would react violently to you meeting with King Sidon?
He kind of looks first at Adra, then at the soldiers, then over at the tabaxi woman.
Yes. Unfortunately, I do believe that there are some among the other oligarchs who, as I mentioned in my communication with you, would be greatly opposed to the idea of foreign influence growing within Linteria.
I see. And if I may just ask one more question, what is your goal in meeting with King Sidon, if we may know that?
My goal is to broker a twofold arrangement. The first being that of economic nature in the form of a trade agreement. The second being that of military. I worry that the saturation of elven blood as the primary peacekeeping force of Lenteria has led to favoritism, elitism, and racism. It is my effort to enact in concord between us and the Kingdom of Vega, where, as part of that concord, we would participate in an exchange of troops. This would be very grand. This would be very challenging to propose. However, it is something that I feel would benefit us as a nation and as a people. It is also a very strategic way where I can try to suss out which of the other oligarchs might be trying to make life for the citizens of Linteranel more difficult.
What's your incentive for upsetting the status quo and all this? He's full elven, isn't he?
He is.
Because normally people who are already in that position of power don't really see a reason to. I mean, in effect, you'd be giving yourself less power by doing this.
That's not true at all. The governmental process of the oligarchy would not change. However, certain members of the oligarchy may be removed.
So are
Thus-
you just trying to remove people who would otherwise be your political opponents?
They are not my opponents. They are supposed to be my compatriots. They are supposed to be working in tandem with one another. Instead, what we have now is bickering and infighting. The 5 families, those who formed the foundation of Linteranel, they were founded upon principles of coexistence, working together for the mutual peace and benefit of its people. Over the last 800 years, that has changed drastically. I would be sure that you've experienced such.
Yeah. I'm just surprised that it's just purely altruistic motives.
With the removal of other oligarchs and making way for newer oligarchs, it puts me at seniority. So if you must know, I do benefit somewhat.
Just curious.
Well, with that in mind, who would you want to succeed these? Their seconds, or will we be
Fortunately-
uprooting entire families and replacing? I feel like that's
That
practically
would
impossible.
involve genocide.
I think that this
Practically.
is
Yes.
a little too global in scope. My apologies for interrupting. Maybe
You are here to contribute just like the rest of us.
I was thinking that we may want to establish first some sort of safety system because our opponents clearly have access to doppelgangers and changelings and such. So perhaps ways that we can identify each other in this room. I know that you are familiar with our exploits and you may be able to think of some details about us
Mhm.
that we could answer questions and such.
Well, whoever this shapeshifter is, or if there are more, I assume you took care of the one.
Well, we weren't trying to kill it. Accidents happen, unfortunately. And even a changeling can only put up with so much.
I was going to say Monster Hunter.
As far as maintaining the security of our immediate party, I have someone I'd like to introduce you to. And he looks over towards the fireplace. And the Tabaxi woman stands and turns towards each of you. She places the book down that she had been reading, takes both of her hands and forming a kind of a circle between thumb and forefinger, presses both over the kind of tops of her breast, right where her chest meets her shoulder, and gives you a very formal bow.
Like that?
Yes. It is a pleasure to make your acquaintance. My name is Moon. You may refer to me as such, though I assume we shall not know each other for very long. Please allow me to assist as I may, with your consent. The scale bearer nods, and she kind of walks over towards the group of you. If you are comfortable, I would ask that each of you extend your right arm.
What?
Bosmer doesn't. He trusts.
I feel pretty comfortable.
As she kind of goes from person to person, and she doesn't necessarily do anything at first. She just sort of observes and kind of peers at the arm which you've extended, And then as she does this circle a second and then a third time, all of a sudden she reaches out and grabs the wrist of the person closest to her. Let's say 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. Toby.
Ha!
She grabs onto kind of your upper wrist just below the elbow. She looks at it, and then she puts her kind of muzzle really close to it, and you can actually feel her whiskers sort of like brushing against your forearm. And then she reaches down the front of her dress, and then she pulls out a long tooth. And she places it against your skin, and she looks at you. Do I have your consent?
That's all I can do.
Consent to.
Ensure that you are not replaceable.
Sure.
Very good. It will be mostly. It's not painless. A very sharp pain just cuts across your forearm, and it right across here.
Okay.
A single cut, and normally this type of a cut would be very potentially lethal, capable of causing most humanoids to bleed out very, very quickly. Instead, however, as the cut is made, it immediately begins to knit itself from within until only a crust of dried blood exists over the top of the skin. As she then moves on, reaches out to Gedrud's wrist. She repeats the question, do I have your consent?
I don't know if it'll work. And pulling up the sleeve, like, it's all black.
Kind of.
Do you still have flesh underneath?
Right here, it's not really.
I saw blood in that arm the other day.
It's a little
What?
different.
Look.
Are you looking for somewhere to scar?
At this point, like, she leans in super close and she starts like sniffing at your arm, and you can see like the corners of her snout just sort of like lift up like she smells something not good. And Gedrud doesn't stink. He's not rotting in the terms of flesh, but she was able to perceive something.
He's just like a midget Rasputin from Anastasia.
Perhaps there is another location.
Well, if you're looking for an artery, you can do my neck.
And for that, I would need your consent.
He just actually dies.
Go ahead.
You saw what this did to your friend.
Well,
I do not promise it painless.
That's fine. Go ahead.
Wait,
You tell me that.
your other arm's flesh, isn't it?
Nope, they're both just like
Buttocks?
he
Fine.
just
Start it
dipped
up.
his hands in ink.
As time goes on, this infection is just spreading up his arms.
So she reaches in her dress, and she pulls out the cord, this time with a claw on it. She takes it up to the side of your neck, and she gives you a very sharp pull, ripping open flesh. And almost immediately, as quick and sharp as the pain was, the wound begins to re-knit, and eventually just a thin crust of dried blood sits over the space where the cut was. She repeats the process with each of you, asking your consent, and you notice that each time she pulls out a different implement for making the cut. Various teeth, claws, spines, just there's even like a shard of bone that she uses. Yeah.
Can I try and figure out what these bones are from?
Make an history check for me.
Ooh.
Would I be able to also assist on such a check?
Oh,
Are you proficient in history?
Hey.
This is old.
9.
Okay.
I've gotten that 2 plus 7.
Well done.
It feels as though something in the back of your mind is being tickled, but you aren't able to recall it. Do you give your consent?
Yeah, if she can tell amongst all the scars on my arms which one is hers.
I was gonna say, I got quite a few. Do it on my left arm instead.
Okay. She obliges. And to you?
Sure, have at it.
Throughout all the time that she's been walking, you haven't heard anything in her step to signify that there are 8 different baubles bouncing around on different leather thongs around her neck. She only ever reaches in and pulls out a single cord with a single item, unique. When it's finished, she bows to the scale bearer and she nods to each of you. Thank you. This will allow me to make sure that you are not ever replaced.
Do you have one?
I do not hold mine. And she just turns around and walks away. Goes and sits back down.
Where'd you find her?
Did she ever tell us her name?
Moon.
Like the celestial body.
Moon sugar.
Oh, that was a unique experience. I feel like whoever was going to copy us couldn't actually copy our abilities, and we could have just shown that off instead. But you know, blood and scars, it's fine.
Oh, you'll be pleasantly surprised. There will be no there will be no scars in the morning. You have no need to worry of that.
How do
So,
I get rid of the ones?
Get rid of what? I just told you there will be no scars.
Yeah, but there's gonna be something.
There will only be the
So-
memories of that creepy little thing that you felt.
That was forever.
It'll be scarred in your mind. Maybe if you drink enough, you'll one day forget.
oh right. So, I suppose you, is there anything you would like to ask us as well, as we consider more questions?
Personally, at this point, I believe I will only be filling a consolatory role. You and Adra will be working together to plan out the strategy for the security of our meeting tomorrow. She will provide you with the location details, she will provide you with the terrain of the area, and she will inform you of how we will be traveling the rest of the way. Unfortunately, it will be by mundane means, as there is no way of magically teleporting ourselves to our destination. I would let you know that from this point forward, everything that we do, everything that we say, everywhere that we go, and how we go there, should be assumed to be watched by others. It will be critically important that we conceal everything that we can about what it is that we are doing from here forth. Do you understand?
Understood.
Alright.
Crystal clear.
However, a suggestion possibly, anywhere that they see somebody with the likes of us, especially near the likes of you, there will be questions. So, do we have something we can tell people, or that we can make known that we are doing, sort of an official story?
At this point, Adra kind of chimes in.
Yes, well, as far as that goes, how do the lot of you feel about enlisting?
And that's where we're going to end today's
Oh,
session.
gosh. Okay.
We've been shanghaied.
No. No.
Good job, guys.
Okay.
There were a couple of different places we could have stopped tonight, but I felt that was a good one. Holy smokes. Welcome back. It's been way too long with all the holidays. Everyone's been crazy busy. It's been 2.5 months or whatever since we played with these characters, and I'm so excited to see all of them. You guys haven't lost it a bit, and if anything, I mean, today's performance was just amazing. So good on you guys. Let's see. We're gonna play again next Saturday. Same time, same place. From here on out, we're going to be starting our stream around 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, and we'll be ending 11 p.m. typically. There will be a little bit of a break in between our session, but guys, I'm so excited. This is amazing. You guys all did wonderfully.
Yeah.
Way to go. Okay, well, I think that about wraps it up. See y'all next week, and we'll see what happens from here. Bye, guys.